Hello, friends. I hope you're well. I hope we're live. Had some technical problems before with the internets and YouTube. I'm hoping that it'll be stable for a bit, so we can take a look at the Alisal and the other fires. Let people trickle in here. I want to start out with a video that just was uploaded really quickly before looking at the Alisal and the especially bad fire conditions there. That's where we're going to spend most of our time, so I would like to get a couple of the smaller ones kind of out of the way real quick if somebody's coming here, just to get, a roundup kind of summary of things. Hey, hello, Jay Cat. How are you? Sorry, guys, I continue to be pretty sick, and just got on when I could. Kind of overdid it trying to set my place back into shape, but all the hard labor is coming to fruition soon. We'll have a much better streaming setup and computer really soon. So hey, Strange Reverend, hello, how are you? So we can see here that there's a red flag warning very close to the Alisal fire. Ventura County is a rock throw away from Santa Barbara County. Just they border each other, and so Ventura County has the red flag warning. And I've been reading a little bit more about it, and apparently the Los Padres National Forest is under red flag too. So that's partly where the Alisal might be spreading. So I'm going to call Santa Barbara County good as red flag, orange flag, whatever you want to call it, whatever's on the borderline. There has to be a couple of very specific numbers to be actual red flag. Humidity has to be within a certain percent, wind speed has to be within a certain percent, etc. But even if it's not officially a red flag, it's good as. So I kind of reckon it like this. Somebody who has their neighborhood shaken up by a 6.0 earthquake doesn't care if it's 6.0 or 5.9. So if something's right on the border, it's good, just as good as calling it red flag, in my opinion. So let's go look at the KNP update that was just launched, and we'll wait for some people to come in, and then we'll go right into looking at the Alisal. So here's Dennis Burns here with our KNP complex update, and then it'll be open question and answer time. We'll look at the Alisal.
Good evening, Dennis Burns, Fire Behavior Analyst for California Interagency Incident Management Team 2 with your October 14th update of the KNP complex. So starting down in Division Alpha, down here on the southwest side of the fire. Again, this part of the fire, kind of going all the way up to this little red dot here, is in patrol status. Just making sure everything stays where we want it to. This little piece of line here, the reason why it's still red is it's a real steep slope, and we literally cannot put people on it. We've been monitoring it and comparing infrared imagery day after day. The heat that's up there is slowly going away, so we expect maybe the next day or two as well actually be able to put that little piece as black on the map. Coming up the west side of the fire, all the way up through Division Union. All this has been in a patrol status. The big issue that we're starting now is what we call suppression repair. I think I mentioned it yesterday, but that's going through and trying to make like the dozer lines, the hand lines, things like that we put in during the fire more resistant to erosion, if we ever get rain again in California. So that's kind of what is going on pretty much on the whole west side of the fire, is that suppression repair business. So coming up to the top, you can see we blacked out this piece up here on Park Ridge. Crews got sufficient depth in there. There is still heat interior, but nothing that we feel is going to threaten the line. Coming on down the General's Highway, all that's holding in place. Crews are continuing to strengthen this direct hand line all the way through this. This is about 7 miles of line, so it's quite a push for them to get in there and get through. A lot of snags in there, but they're figuring 2 to 3 days, and they'll be able to call that good and walk away and not be worried about it. This little piece across the General's Highway, across from Stony Creek, we had a crew in there today. They were actually able to get some water in on there, so we'll probably see some black on the map probably tomorrow at this time. They're feeling pretty confident. There still is one little piece of indirect in here, and it's just because the fire is hung up on a slope, again, that we can't get to. Coming down the highway, everything's tied in. This piece that's out in the wilderness, as I've mentioned, it's burning up towards granite. It will produce smoke from time to time as it gets into the little stringers of fuels, of timber and whatnot that is there. Then we tie back in. This is a drainage that we were able to get crews into, and then back into the highway by the giant forest here. We continue to work this east end with aircraft today. Again, this part of the fire is not in a position to where we can actually get boots on the ground. This western end is looking pretty quiet. Most of the heat is concentrated directly on the east end, but the aircraft use that we did yesterday and what we've used today have taken quite a bit of the heat, and the spread was not nearly as much as it had been the last several days. Coming out into Division Echo, the fire is going to continue to back down towards Cliff Creek. Again, it's just finding those stringers of timber, but no threat. It's an understory burn, and it's in red fir, which is a short needle, so it's very low intensity fire. And then finishing off down here in Division Charlie, which is basically the Mineral King Road, the road going out to Mineral King. We still have fire below the road, and it's not a really clean burn. And with the warmer, drier conditions, some of that is reburning. So there's crews, and they're using a drone trying to identify specific areas of heat. If it's safe for them to get into, they'll go down and cut that heat out. If it's not, they're using the drone to direct aircraft to deal with that heat. So the combination of the warm and dry, the copters, and the crews doing the work, hopefully some of that heat's just going to burn itself out. Hopefully most of it the crews will be able to deal with, so we can start reducing that threat to the Mineral King Road. So yeah, that's your evening update for October 14th, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yay! I love Dennis. I think we all do. Sorry about the audio issues, guys. I just realized after a bit that when I was speaking to you in the beginning that there was no sound. Whoops. Sorry. What I was trying to explain here was, even though Ventura County next door to Santa Barbara County is in red flag, I guess they haven't made Santa Barbara County technically a red flag area right now, but good enough is what I would say. It's kind of like a technicality thing in many cases, whether or not something is in red flag warning. Like, is it if it's 2% too humid, over their measuring stick, then they won't call it that. So what I just generally want to drive the point home is it's like saying, is it a 5.9 earthquake or a 6? Who cares? As far as you and I are concerned, it's red flag, essentially, if not officially. So, I mean, you throw a rock and you're in Ventura County. I think they just sometimes like the convenience of county lines and say this county's good and the other one isn't. And fire conditions and the weather don't care what we think, don't care anything for our invisible boundaries on the landscape. So it's not good. Santa Ana winds are just nightmare for firefighting. But here we are. Hopefully they're going to be mild and not insano Santa Anas. But we'll just have to wait and see. I wanted to do a video roundup of the other smaller fires real quick before we got real deep into the Alisal. And please bear with me. I still have this crazy sinus infection from the mold exposure thing with the window that leak. So I'm not 100% with it, but I'll do my best here. I just wanted to finish this little tweet that I have that I just went live, and a little link, because people tell me that sometimes they're not officially notified by YouTube. The app just doesn't want to work. I mean, I'm one of those people. I miss live streams all the time because YouTube doesn't notify me. I don't know why. But Twitter does. Twitter does if you set it up pretty good. Okay, going back to chat. Good, welcome everybody, and good to see everybody. Hey, JD and J Cat and Jordan B and Desiree. Hello. How are you guys? I hope you're doing okay. J Cat says some nice pics in the update. Okay. J Cat says a pic from Reagan's ranch with the fire behind it. Yikes. Yeah. Dennis is a good no nonsense guy. You're totally right, and he's nice and friendly too, and reassuring. These are our current images of from our traditional cameras on Santa Ynez Peak West. We can go look at the color images too. These are the fire, I think, pushed away from where the cameras are, so it's a lot more difficult to see than usual. I mean, in a way, we like not seeing fire, but in a way, if it's just hiding beyond the camera view, that's not good. So this is the fire here. This is like the ridge line, and you can't really see, but this is the slope of the mountains. Here would be like the sky with the moon. You know what I'm saying? So the fire continues to be on the slope over here in the images for the color cams with the HP Ren. We can go into infrared, and you can now see it better. How, like I said, the slope is like that, and there's the fire in this particular cam. So it seems to be studded with different types of cameras. The ones that are color all the time, those are infrared all the time on this tower. And they'll have slightly different viewpoints. I do like seeing this, though, this lovely road/fire line deal. That's going to be very important for them to reach it. So we look back at chat. Oh, Husky, thank you so much for the tip. Thank you for the kind donations. And thank everybody. I just checked the email who has sent me little gift cards and food cards. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm really frustrated with the computer situation. I was ready to go live an hour ago, and I just didn't check it. I should have last night before I went to sleep, but I had filled up the solid state that usually goes with the stream. So I have the new ones sitting over there on the countertop, ready to go. But really, I need a full Windows install, so I haven't touched them yet. And I transferred the other ones off to a hard drive. I just dug through my computer parts, closet. So I want to do a lot of work real soon, and you'll see the quality really increase once I have adequate technical specs on the computer. But I just want to say, sorry, long roundabout way, that very soon I will apply these generous donations of yours to a huge upgrade. So just bear with me. I was hoping that we'd have a little bit more time in between fires, but here we are. So JD says excellent graphical representation. Thanks. Yeah, my drawing skills are unparalleled. I've been going to art school. This smiley face is what got me into art school. When I added the nose, they said, "You're the most talented student we've ever seen. Nobody's ever added a nose before to a smiley face. Full scholarship, free ride. You will go down in history as an innovator." And I attended for a while, but then I thought, I'm just too good for Carnegie Mellon. I need to go to something with a little bit more prestige. So but when I find an art institute that's good enough to host my talents, then I'm sure that I'll make a new progress in that too. So, hey, Big Dog, thank you so much, by the way. I got the email. Big hugs. You are totally awesome. Okay, let's look at the situations. I wanted to do another quick roundup, and I apologize for being on cold medicine mode again. I figure a low quality, dopey kind of stream is better than nothing. First, let's see if there's any new evacuation information that needs to scroll by. I did see that down the pipe earlier today, but I could not go live. I was in the middle of the cleanup, got exhausted, and had to lay down. And the evacuation update, let's make sure that this is refreshed and not yesterday's, was the area west of Arroyo Hondo to intersection 101 and Highway 1 became an evacuation order. So the warning that they changed, this was around 5 p.m. At 5 p.m. as well, the area west of 101, including Gaviota Beach and Hollister Ranch properties, that warning was still in effect. So I don't think there's anything like breaking news for us to scroll by with the evacuation info, unless there's been some sort of a change that I'm unaware of. But as far as I know, this is the official source, readysbc.org, and we'll continue to monitor that. Desiree says, "Did you do the draw a turtle art test?" Oh yeah, and it's limited edition lithographic prints. If you really want to be a super donator, then you too can get a copy of my turtle, and I think you'll be very pleased with the tortoiseshell pattern here. The trick is you make K patterns, because K is the best of all the letters, and then you put a little eyeball right there, and just boom, you've got the world's best tortoise drawing. Some people think it's an armadillo, but I think that just adds to the mystique. You really shouldn't over-explain your art. You should leave some mystery there. Like, what am I going for here? Am I just trying to make it look like a child with some sort of a left-handed arm injury, without a thumb, drew this, or is it really that I'm kind of going for an influence? I'm influenced by Aboriginal rock art, and this is high art. Is it low or high art? We need to keep the mystery there. But you too can get a limited edition print. If you belong to a certain first class kind of tax bracket. If you have to ask the price, you need not inquire. So he needs a little newsboy cap. Oh, okay, well, I can just for the low price of $500,000, I can add whatever artistic detail you want to the turtle, and then I could for another $500,000, you could make it a unique. That would be a good investment for your family. You could pass it down generation to generation, and sell it. If you came on hard times. Sorry, this is like bad joke day. All right, let's go back to this thing. All right, Santa Ynez Peak. Let's do a time lapse. I don't see any new evacuation stuff. Aboriginal rock art is usually high art, found on the ceilings mostly. I know that, actually. That is high art. Absolutely. But I meant the low art is the child drawing thing. You would not believe, I took art history classes pretty extensively. You would not believe how difficult it was to make the cave paintings that our forefathers did, our ancestors did. It was every bit as difficult as painting the Sistine Chapel. They made extremely elaborate platforms. They laid on their backs in total pitch darkness. They had to go deep enough into caves so that airflow and moisture and microbes at the front of caves would not eat their work, because they noticed that if you made the art too close to the cave entrance, that it would deteriorate. So they went deep down in there. It would take them many hours to reach some of those locations. So they would have to have a huge amount of torches, perhaps even oil lamps, primitive type devices in there, and they would, if they ran out of something, like a torch or any sort of thing that they needed, they would be in complete and utter darkness and have to find their way out. And I can't imagine working under those terrifying conditions. Imagine how you have a torch that lasts an hour, then you have to go to the next. You have to hope that it lasts until you go to the next station with the torches. So they had like a bucket chain of supplies that the rest of the tribe would constantly funnel in there. Then they had to mix the paints, they traveled hundreds of miles to go and acquire, in their mouth. They had to stick bits of charcoal and pigment in their mouth, swirl it together with their tongue, because saliva was necessary to bind the pigments. And then they had to spit. Mostly they spat their art onto the cave walls and ceilings using stencils. So to come up with elaborate stencils, it's not like they walked in there and took a piece of charcoal and drew. That's not what happened. So they had all kinds of techniques. They even had perspective and three-dimensional type of art, three-dimensional perspective, and some other words I can't remember right now. That kind of art isn't seen until pretty much the Renaissance. Like nobody in the ancient world had it. They wouldn't just put like a bison on the ceiling. They would look for a place on the ceiling that had a rock formation that looked like the musculature of a bison, and then they would draw the bison on the ceiling on their backs. But but in such an artful way that you can only see the bison's muscles, and it looks like it moves in torchlight if you would go to a certain spot in the cave and look at it from that direction. So if you have ever seen the crazy perspective drawings of sidewalk chalk animation people, where it looks like you could fall into the sidewalk, you have to stand in one spot to get that perspective. So they somehow memorized that if you stand in this corner of the cave and look up 25 feet away and 30 feet up on the ceiling, that's the correct angle to view the bison. They had to memorize that in their head, then climb up a scaffold, lay on their back, do the art, climb down off of it, and see if they did it right. They don't have mirrors, they don't have photographs, they don't have anything to help. It's just incredible. So yeah, I totally get it. Our cameras aren't showing us too much. I was hoping we would look at wind direction here. We'll look at windy in just a second. Big Dog says, after consulting with my bookkeeper, you may be getting a K-Max for Christmas. Stay tuned for developments. Yes! I don't know if I should be happy or insulted that you want to give me a K-Max. That's one of those troll kind of gifts, really. That's like giving somebody the leg lamp from the what was that? You'll Shoot Your Eye Out, Son movie. It's infamous. The leg lamp, mannequin leg with a bulb at the top. A Christmas Story. Yeah. That's either a really awesome gag gift or some sort of a troll thing. So, all right, looking back at the chat, I'm sorry guys, I'm really on the cold medicine. If you haven't been able to tell. Okay, nice to hear your sense of humor is back. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at the smoke here. We have a lovely sunset. Kind of. I mean, you can see the reflection of the sun on the waters. But then you see this, right as the sun sets, complete change in smoke direction. So you see that And the moment that occurs is right as the sun's dipping into the water. Let me pause it at the correct. See how the smoke's going south to the sea? Then we're right here, and we can pause it 1842. That's 642. That is when everything has changed with wind direction. So it's the smoke's going over to the north right there. I'm trying to figure out if we'll be able to see it, but it kind of ends in an awkward spot right there. We'll keep doing 15-minute time lapses, because even though we know what prevailing wind direction is supposed to be, the Santa Ana development throws a wild card into the weather of Santa Barbara County. We know what it's doing to Ventura County right next door to the east. But just like we watched that super confusing weather report where at the very end of it yesterday, the wind arrows kind of went random directions over Santa Barbara County. I was hoping the weather reporter would kind of elaborate on what we are seeing there. I'm just going to interpret that as instability. I think that's the best way to do that. A big giant question mark, because weather is not an exact science. It's predictive. We still don't know so much about the Earth here. So what we are seeing is, Santa Ana's kind of coming in like this. In general, they are not anything to do with the ocean. They're from inland. They're from the Nevada deserts, and they can be up to hurricane force wind strength, but in gusts, not in sustained force. So the mountain range here adds a complicating factor because we know that down by LA, down by Santa Ana, there's a gap, and the Santa Anas find their way to the ocean. Sorry, the map is incomplete. Let me just fix that. When you have Forest Service maps, they of course don't map the ocean, so that's why the ocean's a giant blank spot right there. But if we turn it on to scanned topos, or what, TF Outdoors or something, there we go. There's our ocean. You can kind of see that the gap is sort of like that. See how you got a San Bernardino like so, you have a smaller gap like so, you've got a little bit of a gap like so, and that's the way the Santa Anas want to reach the ocean. And then you have this solid line here of the Coast Range to the north of Santa Barbara, so you get this big question mark of, are they ever going to sweep along the coastline to the west? Are they going to bounce off the terrain here and make a swirly bob? That's the I don't know what else to call that, but we see that sometimes, like in Indian Valley on the Dixie, where sometimes wind will just go right over the top of mountains, and sometimes part of them will bounce off and go the other direction. So I'm just going to call it wild card. With they may not know exactly what's going on too. Well, speak of the devil, did I mention swirly bobs? What is that? When you have the intersection of conflicting winds, you get these weird situations. So you got your onshores and whatnot here. You got your Santa Anas coming here. They're colliding. So I think I'm going to be comfortable just saying it's a wild card. We don't know exactly what to expect with wind directions, and that means that the fire crews don't, and that makes it much more dangerous for them in general. So yeah, JD says, Morris says Cajon Pass is through Orange County. Yeah, exactly. Have you been down there extensively, Morris? I can't remember where you're at. Strange Reverend says, I have a lava lamp right now and it's on. Dude, lava lamps, those are kind of cool. Until you shatter them on the floor, then that's not fun. Okay, yeah, it was a Christmas story. That was great. Smitty says my mom was nuts for cerulean fluorescent bulbs. Try and find one of those suckers now. Were they toxic or something? I mean, all of them have mercury in them. Okay, so let's look back at our cams. Here's our current viewpoints. The ones that I can click on them, but they won't give us the time lapse. I've got to open these other views to get our time lapses. So I'll duplicate that tab and click on the other camera at the UCSB campus. We see absolutely nothing there. I guess that one's not going to be that helpful. Let's look at the others in the area. It's open question and answer time. Okay, we see smoke there. I know Highway 101's been reopened in some sections. We can check with Caltrans in a bit. Wow. Now this camera I haven't looked at before. This is the Highway 101 Blueberry 1 camera. It's behind the mountains to the north. Wow, and look at all the first responders rushing around. So remember, this is looking to the southeast with the mountains in the way. So here's our time lapse. And it's trying to cross the mountains. And you can see all the little headlights of all the first responders headed up there. And look, notice the smoke is going not directly to the camera, but it's going to the right. So let me get smoke going to the right is going to the west along the shoreline. So see how we're looking at. So if anything is on the right of the camera, to the right of the camera. Whoops, let me get the right pen here. Okay. That way. See what I'm saying? The arrows are meeting each other because that's where the actual smoke direction is. So let's replay this again. Now this camera might be the one to watch tonight because fire might crest over the ridge. It looks so close. I wish we had more angles to view. Going back up there, no, just circular fluorescent bulbs. Never see them anymore. There's a couple of specialty stores. There's one in Portland called Hippo Hardware. It's one of those legendary stores in the Pacific Northwest, and so people drive, as far as Seattle or, southern border like California to go to Hippo Hardware to find the old stuff. It's a gigantic warehouse. I went there once, and because you have to do the tourist thing, just like Powell's Bookstore is like the largest bookstore west of the Mississippi. That's pretty much one of the larger hardware stores for antique type stuff probably in the entire western edge of the country. It's a wonderland. Even if you don't need to buy anything, it's a place. It's like walking into a giant museum, and every single room in like a 3 or 4 story warehouse building is full of just whatever old hardware you need. Are those helicopter or car lights? Well, that's a good question. Let's do an analysis there. I'm thinking some of this could possibly be helicopter. Let's look at flight radar. I was kind of monitoring the situation here. Yeah, that's the Sikorsky. Let's turn on the radio. Just keep me on track, guys. I am absolutely sick on the cold medicine. So if there's just something obvious that I'm forgetting, yeah, take my hand and be like, remember, dear, you're supposed to listen to the radio. Okay. All right. Okay. Logging into Broadcastify over here. I do believe you're right, that the helicopter could be shining some lights on the situation. We've seen them use lasers before. Now this is a mapping plane. I don't think you guys can see its pattern, but it took off this way and it's doing this. It'll probably do another sweep something like that, and then stop, because that it's more of an elongated fire than like a big round one. But this sometimes, even if it's not making any drops or anything, even if they're just communicating, they often will shine a light on someplace, because they see the FLIR kind of images usually in infrared, and on the ground they may not have anything of the sort. So they can do something, flash a spotlight or a laser for a really targeted, precise location, and say, go here or don't go here, or observe this or that. All right, so let's log into Santa Barbara. I'm doing this off screen on the other monitor. Southern California feed. Play. Let's see if we hear the pilots. It's unlikely that we will, but it's now on. Santa Barbara County. There's fire dispatch.
4, respond for 1 RP reporting 10 shots heard in the area of Bailey and Olive. They then heard a vehicle drive off. No description.
Copy.
Hello? Okay, see, it's going to mostly be the Sheriff dispatch.
1098.
Yeah, so, or is it aliens? Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're great. Definitely could be aliens. I mean, never mind the fact that there's a bunch of helicopters in the area and a plane. Definitely, it's probably aliens. Maybe the aliens are here to help us. So let me get to. I was trying to find. Okay, here's our InstaWeb. We'll have a new map very quickly after they.
Subject still locked in the bathroom.
A subject is locked in their bathroom. Okay. All right. Let's see when the. Is this website having a problem? Come on, InstaWeb.
1021 dispatch, please.
Okay, 1 hour ago, they updated the InstaWeb, and it says 11% containment. That's awesome. Size is that's up from 5% this morning. 16,801 acres. So this is not very relevant. It says southwest winds likely develop Wednesday morning, but okay, it's Thursday night. They don't always update every part of this. So the significant events saying that fire remained active throughout the day in most divisions with active torching, flanking, and backing. Majority of growth was located on the western flank towards Gaviota. So the California Incident Management Team 1 and C2MT1. I have their Facebook or YouTube channel kind of bookmarked here. This team is which used to be on the Dixie, now has the Alisal. Let's see if they've had. Oh, looks like we do have a 1 hour ago an evening operational update. So let's watch that. I'm gonna mute the. We can't hear the pilots. I'm sure they would have been talking if. Yeah, sure, we would have heard them if they were talking, and if that Broadcastify channel had what we were looking for. So here's the Alisal fire update, and hot off the press, 360p, high resolution, yay.
Good evening, my name is Travis Lee and I'm one of the ops chiefs with California Team 1, and I'm going to take you around the fire tonight. Crews completed a lot of hard work today and we made great progress. So I'm going to start up here in Division Alpha on the Camino Cielo Road. They did a lot of mop up, a lot of construction, did a little bit of burning along here just to tie it all along to the road and secure the perimeter. Moving down over here into the Refugio and below the Reagan Ranch and the VOR, crews progressed nicely along here, locking up the perimeter, and then continuing over down into Refugio Canyon. Crews were mopping up and around the structures. Everything is looking really well, continuing to secure the perimeter and mop up any heat around the structure. Working our way into Division Echo, crew. We had crews out here, hotshot crews, that were cold trailing and mopping up as they're coming into the old Sherriff fire. It's looking real good. A lot of it's going out on its own, and we're having really good success over here. And then coming on down here into Division Juliet, we're seeing real similar conditions. That's starting to go out, and we're going to start blacking out this into the coming days. Coming around here, same progress. Crews were working in here, mopping up, securing and patrolling the perimeter. Down in here above the Chevron oil plant, we had a little bit of heat in here today. Crews mopped it up and put it out, continuing all the way down here to the 101. Looking good. Similar in here, continuing in Division Juliet and down into drop point 93. We had crews all along the 101 all day, mopping up, securing hazard trees, and putting out any smokes of concern. No threat to the highway. And then just continuing along, I'll take you along the highway. Still looking really good. We blacklined this all today, and we're increasing our containment. As we move up into Division Juliet, where we had our run from our sundowners last night, crews put dozer line in, as well as cold trailed and hand perimeter, put in hand line coming around into Division Lima. And tomorrow we're going to continue progressing up and around this corner. We ran helicopters all in here all day long, and to put out a lot of the heat, and knocked it out, and it's looking really good. And then coming up here all the way up into drop point 40, this is all holding well back into Camino CL. We did put some contingency line out here by Gaviota Peak in the event that this does slop out. And then also the great news today is the Highway 101 was opened back up to public traffic. But please keep and drive cautiously. We will continue to have fire crews working down off the 101, continuing to mop up hotspots.
Okay. So I want to go through that again, like area by area. People were remarking, where's his pointer? I think they all need a pointer, like the little stick with the rubber, hand at the end with the little finger pointing deal. We've seen some very funny makeshift pointers that they use sometimes, and that's what the joke is about. Sometimes they grab a radio antenna, sometimes a yardstick, sometimes a pencil. Sometimes they point at the map with their phones. And then we saw some really interesting ones. Somebody had a crossbow arrow on the Monument fire, and then a fly swatter. That was the greatest one on the Antelope fire. So that's what the running gag is. The other running gag that's going on in chat is, I want to believe in the moon. I had a bunch of conspiracy types last year come in the channel and say there's an alien on the alien spacecraft on the Alert Wildfire cam, and it turned out to be the moon with a lens flare. So that's just a running gag. Like, I want to believe. Well, and then Amber came up with an awesome joke. Do you want to believe in the moon? So anyway, I figured I'd explain that. So let's go on the step by step. There's some really good info here, some really happy news. So let's go to point by point.
Chief with California Team 1, and I'm going to take you around the fire tonight. Crews completed a lot of hard work today, and we made great progress. So I'm going to start up here in Division Alpha on the Camino CL Road. They did a lot of mop-up, a lot of construction, did a little bit of burning along here just to tie it all along to the road and secure the perimeter. Moving down over here into the Refugio and below the Reagan Ranch and the VOR, crews progressed nicely along here, locking up the perimeter. And then continuing over down into Refugio Canyon, crews were mopping up and around the structures. Everything is looking really well, continuing to secure the perimeter.
Okay, so it's looking great to the west of the Reagan Ranch and to the south of it and to the east of it. So that's great. That was one of the places where it was just trying to march over to the north. And that 2 days of north winds blowing the fire to the south really bought them the extra time they needed to prepare. And so now that the wind is going to try to do wild card stuff, I'm so happy to hear that he's confident. He's even using terms like mop up on these perimeters. That is the one good thing about the fuels here. They're flashy. They're just tumbleweeds, sage, chaparral, brush, bushes, and little trees for the most part. It's not dense forest. It's just nothing like the Windy or the KMP fire or the Dixie. So if they are able to stop the fire at a road or something, that fire has to find desperately has to find a new fuel source, or it will just burn out within hours, within a day or two. It has to keep moving to live. So even though it's in extremely challenging terrain and they don't have much access, wherever they are able to stop the fire at a road may be very quickly penciled in as black line, just because of the flashy natures of the fuels. So if they can catch up with the fire, if they have enough time, it's easier to stop it at a road than, say, a raging wildfire of 200-foot tall sequoias. So let's continue southeast of the Reagan Ranch area
and mop up any heat around the structure. Working our way into Division Echo crew. We had crews out here, hotshot crews, that were cold trailing and mopping up as they're coming into the old Sherriff fire. It's looking real good. A lot of it's going out on its own, and we're having really good success over here. And then coming on down here.
Okay, cool. So it did meet the Sherpa scar. The Sherpa happened in 2016-ish. I think it was late 2016. And so we were wondering, and so is the public, if the fire reaches that place where the Sherpa fire was, then is that going to help or hinder things? I was thinking it would help because that would be relatively recent dozer lines that they constructed. Other people came in and said, well, a lot of those washed out in flash flooding. Oh. But at least relatively recently, the vegetation burned. And so he just quickly glossed over it, but he said that a lot of the fire burned out on its own, like where his wrist is. You see that little, I got the pen actually, like over here. He said the fire, a lot of it stopped on and went out on its own. Well, that's what fires do when they run out of fuel. It's, like I said, the flashy fuels. So that's wonderful. So let's go to the next part.
Into Division Juliet, we're seeing real similar conditions. That's starting to go out, and we're going to start blacking out this into the coming days.
Cool. And by the way, I have no idea what this strap is. It looks like a strap from like truck driving. I think that they had to strap the map down because of the high winds. That would make sense. But yeah, it's slightly dirty, which adds character to it. So they're talking about putting black line here. That's absolutely wonderful. So I feel like since they had such a good day, by tomorrow sometime, when tonight's winds and tomorrow's winds will test the lines, they might put a huge amount of black line, which is also called containment percentage. On the fire, the fact that it went from 5 to 11% today is a great sign. And they'll wait overnight and then probably look at tomorrow to see if everything is holding. But this is wonderful so far.
Coming around here, same progress. Crews were working in here, mopping up, securing and patrolling the perimeter. Down in here above the Chevron oil plant, we had a little bit of heat in here today. Crews mopped it up and put it out, continuing all the way down here to the 101, looking good. Similar in here, continuing in Division Juliet and down into drop point 93. We had crews all along the 101 all day, mopping up, securing hazard trees, and putting out any smokes of concern. No threat to the highway. And then just continuing along, I'll take you along the highway. Still looking really good. We blacklined this all today, and we're increasing our containment. As we move up into Division Juliet, where we had our run from our sundowners last night, crews put dozer line in, as well as cold trailed and hand perimeter, put in hand line coming around into Division Lima. And tomorrow we're going to continue progressing up and around this corner. We ran helicopters all in here all day long, and to put out a lot of the heat, and knocked it out, and it's looking really good. And then coming up here all the way up into drop point 40, this is all.
Okay, I want to go back to that one because I think this is one of their trouble spots, is the southwest corner, which he was calling Division Lima. He said that it made a run last night. We kind of started seeing that on the cams when just before I had to go to sleep, we saw the wind shift and start headed towards the west, and they had the new mandatory evacuation orders, just before midnight, which was just dismaying. So let's go back again to fully understand this part.
Where we had our run from our sundowners last night, crews put dozer line in, as well as cold trailed and hand perimeter, put in hand line coming around into Division Lima. And tomorrow we're going to continue progressing up and around this corner. We ran helicopters all in here all day long, and to put out a lot of the heat, and knocked it out, and it's looking really good. And then coming up here all the way up into drop point 40, this is all holding well back into Camino CL. We did put some contingency line out here by Gaviota Peak in the event that this does slop out. And then also the great news today is the Highway 101 was opened back up to public traffic. But please keep and drive cautiously. We will continue to have fire crews working down off the 101, continuing to mop up hotspots.
Yay! So I guess when the 101 is open in its entirety, that's absolutely wonderful because it's such an artery for the entire West Coast, not just California. There's the Coast Range. So if you were going to go around, if you needed to use Highway 101, needed to go around, that's quite a detour. That was extremely disruptive to trade and people's lives. So let's go back around. I'm so happy about this report. It's talking about how they're making contingency lines. I want to rewind to the map. I can't find these maps. Either they haven't been uploading them to InstaWeb, but you usually don't find a briefing map on InstaWeb. I don't know where to acquire them. So these little X's here, I wanted to point out what they mean. If you see a trail of little X's like this, like so, that's dozer line. So basically bulldozers making their own little road, like a dirt road. And if they're light gray, then it's under construction and not complete. And if it's black, then it's complete. So this is what this section is here and here. Now with this lighting, I think this is complete. But I can't be sure if that's a gray or a black. Usually if it's gray, it's really, really faint. Especially in bad lighting like this. It seems like there's like vehicle headlights, or maybe probably, judging by the black spot on the camera by his hand, this probably is a light on the camera itself, and it's something on the camera is casting a shadow, probably a shotgun microphone kind of in the way of the light. That's probably mounted on the top of the camera. So this is hard to interpret, but he said that it's contingency, meaning they don't even think they'll need it, but they're doing it anyway. So you've got your main line, which he was saying things are holding, and I imagine it's this. This might be a road. It's hard to say what he was gesturing at. And then contingency. So you got your main line, you got your secondary, you got your contingency is number 3. So it's your just in case, being super cautious. So I think that's great. I think that's wonderful. And the fact that they did that on the very west side might be because they are wondering if the Santa Anas, which are affecting Ventura County like so, if eventually they'll come in this way, from the east to the west. And you can see this is a canyon. Basically, canyons are wind tunnels. So I can understand why they're having extra contingency lines over to the west. That's good planning, and just I have every confidence in what they're doing because they look like they're acting really smart and proactive. They look like they're quite prepared. I saw a couple of interviews with the crews, and they were saying, well, we prepare and we in multiple ways for fire season each year. One of which is to have extra personnel just on standby at a moment's notice. And so they basically pushed a button and people poured in, and they had an extremely rapid response. So great. This has been pretty good so far that I see, and I couldn't be happier. Reagan Ranch still standing and looking safe. The north side looking good. The west side, they're cautiously saying it's looking good. They slammed it with helicopters. They seem to have a helicopter over it right now in the middle of the night, guiding them in their efforts. They're working around the clock. They doubled containment percentage today from 5 to 11. And we'll probably see a big rise in containment tomorrow unless there's some crazy thing that happens with the wind. But we can just be fingers crossed. That's the only thing I can see now that would really throw a monkey wrench into things. Either here's the mapping plane. Either A, the Santa Anas are way worse than they think, which who knows, or B, there's a new fire start somewhere. If those two things do not happen, I think this will be very quickly over with, judging by what that report just said. What he just said in the report. So this is going good. Knock on wood, of course. We have to. you can't really say it's over till the fat lady sings, but it's. We could have had such worse news. Okay, looking back at the chat, does anybody have any questions about the situation down here at the Alisal? We'll have to look at multiple cams to see different time lapses. There's a Refugio 1 cam. I don't know if we'll see anything here. Oh yeah, we can kind of see something. It may take hours to really see anything on these cams if the fires burn up to ridge lines. Many of these are located behind the hills, and you can kind of see where the smoke is, but they're probably going to work as hard as they can not to have the fire reach over the top of hills. Ridge lines is where they oftentimes have their line, so you might just see it reach the top and stop. I was hoping that we could get some maps. We'll check InstaWeb to see where their lines are. That will tell us a whole lot if we have the ability. But like here in the Highway 101 Blueberry 1 cam, this is where we saw the helicopters. So you have your ground crews in your car headlights, but at some points it looks like there's actually helicopter lights and spotlights from above. See these flashes up there? That, I believe, is our helicopter. It's hovering right there, and then it has twin, like, super spotlights. That's like the headlights of a car. And you can see it over there on the ridge. There were two different aircraft. That's the helicopter that was with the two giant spotlights. The one over here, I'm not sure if it was a vehicle or a different kind of a helicopter or whatnot. Excuse me, this is my bad arrow. But the one on the right's definitely a helicopter. We should look at the altitude of the airplane. One of which could be an unmanned aerial vehicle, like a drone. That's not going to show up on flight radar in general. There's two helicopters. Well, that just answers the question. There's a Chinook. Orange County Fire Chinook. Wow. It probably took off from a helipad over here. What if that's a helipad, or if that's just when flight radar started tracking it? I don't think it's one of those that can work at night. I mean, the helicopters can fly around at night, especially on a clear night like tonight. But whether or not they do drops is a different story. That takes an incredible amount of training and certification. I think there's only 2 National Guard helicopters that are able to do that. And that doesn't say National Guard, that says Orange County. So that could be something like delivering the lunches, the equipment, the hose line. It could be a delivery type thing. It could be watching their back, if not doing any drops, because it says Orange County instead of, National Guard or whatnot. Now this guy is probably running around doing the watch your back guys, or there's a hotspot here.
1129 valid and active county probation.
Sorry, I hit the radio button to see if we could hear the helicopter, but that's all we're hearing, it's like, oh, probation, this and that. If anybody knows of a different stream, we could try to hear what they're saying. That would be the best thing to understand the fire right now. Let me look back up at chat. Smitty says there's a question. What's the question? Going back up to chat. Brad Gale says, as a retired Marine, these fire ops are so similar to military ops. It's interesting with logistics, air attack, chain of command, etc. Exactly, Brad. I believe that wildland firefighting should be like a branch of the military. It's very different than urban firefighting with structure fires. And if we treated mega fires as a bit of a war, took them seriously, I think we'd have a lot better results, because really these fires are destroying more of the country than any foreign power ever really did. So it would also make chain of command easier. Too many conflicting agencies fight with each other, and different rules and different ways of doing things. It would be better to just completely reform everything and come up with a new plan, because we have a new era and we need to adapt to to the situation. So yeah, there's 2 helicopters running around. Let's look back at our cams and see what they're currently doing. We can do a 15-minute time lapse. I'll turn on the radio for a second, but I don't think we're going to be able to hear anything. Yeah, look at them go. Whee! Look at, it's definitely aliens, guys. So that, I am in awe of the high-powered lights they have. Wow. That's all kinds of crazy. I'm making a mental note here. Don't commit a crime and be on the lam in Santa Barbara County, because they have super helicopters. They'll find me in the manhunt. I'll be running through the bushes and stuff, camouflage, but all of a sudden I'll hear the dogs, and there'll be a spotlight on me, and I'll be covering my eyes, looking up, saying, "You'll never take me alive." And no, that is some fancy.
Safety Marine information broadcast concerning small craft advisory, shift and listen channel 22 Alpha 157.1 megahertz out.
Well, okay, I only have one radio going. It has an echo.
Radio clear. He's 1036 Mary out of Slow County for 1,000 for a probation violation. It's non-bookable. History only of county probation for 459 HNS 245 current 8 term 4. He's also the restraint party and has served temporary domestic violence order. He's otherwise on a valid.
Copy.
Oh, okay. So I'm just looking at if are any new videos posted. I guess they're going to read a weather report.
I'll be on a bike stop on Turnpike in Kyria.
Turnpike in Kyria.
I wanted to show you this video. This is Los Padres National Forest video. It says Alisal fire update this afternoon on Division Lima, which is the southwest corner, kind of by 101. Division Lima along the western edge, fire crews continue to build direct hand line. They have been supported throughout the day with aviation assets. Yep. Sorry, I couldn't broadcast that. There's still chaos
Okay, sir.
in the house
5 Yellow Charles 288.
10-4, number 2.
from the cleanup of my window leak here. But across the northerly part of the fire, the Camino Cielo continues to hold, just like we heard in the report. Fire crews continue to build upon yesterday's successful burnout operation. Yes. Yeah, just like I suspected, that was going to be their best defense, was to, well, fight fire with fire. Additionally, retardant has...
55, take 1.
Additionally, retardant has been dropped on the top to reduce any spread to the north. Over towards the east, the fire has slowed. It has hit the old Sherpa fire scar.
39, 66.
He's 1129 on a valid.
Yeah, it is not the helicopters. I'm just going to stop that. It was worth a try to check it again. Over towards the east, fire has slowed where it has hit the old Sherpa fire scar. And down along the southern perimeter, crews continue to scout and extinguish hotspots. Today, a total of 17 aircraft were engaged in the fire. Wow. Aerial support were assisted with a quick response force, a QRF, that included 3 large helitankers, an air attack platform, and a mobile retardant base. The railway parallel to Highway 101 has reopened in both directions. And let's look at this aerial video. Isn't this the Reagan Ranch? It looks like it is from the photographs we looked at. I mean, that's, I'm going to mute that, but just sort of play that again. This is worth 1,000 words. We were looking at Google Maps to try to see what kind of vegetation and fields are up there. Once you've reached the top of the mountains, it changes. It gets more foresty. So around this ranch, I believe that's the Reagan Ranch. It looks like that would be Lucky Lake, which is just, well, a big pond. As it turns over, look at the upper left corner of the screen. There it is. There's a lot of larger trees here, probably oaks for the most part, but similar kind of trees. But it's not as thick as, you know, a dense forest. It's still just kind of an oak scrub, savanna mixed kind of a habitat, but very steep. You can see over here to the right this massive drop off in elevation. Where this is almost like a ridge. So this is like a plateau up here, and then you start dropping off towards the sea. The sea would be over this direction. So, yeah, wonderful to see it still standing. And it looks like they've kept the fire well away from it. So, this is not saying that that's the Reagan Ranch, but I think that is. What do you guys think? Looking back at the chat. That's it, Kat? Yeah, thanks, Big Dog. So, wonderful. It's a little bit more dense than I expected for, you know, the terrain up there, but that's why it's so good to get multiple viewpoints. So, the more that are available to us, the more confident we can be about what will happen with the fire. We have to see what the situation is on the ground, not just old satellite pictures or old Google Map pictures. Like what is it like this week? Oh yeah, let's look at the InstaWeb and see if we'll find the maps. So did they update any maps? That would be great to have as something. 11 hours ago. Infrared ortho map. What is this? Yeah, so this infrared flight is in the air as we speak for the new map. This is the one from, 12 hours ago. So I don't know how much it'll change, but we'll be eager to see. We can see the aircraft right now flying over the area, or yeah, there it is. See the, yep, click on the wrong one. Where did it go? That's the other Chinook. Maybe it landed. But we just saw its zigzag pattern go like this. That's the infrared map. I don't know how long it'll take them to update, and then how long it will take them to upload the updated map to InstaWeb. But we'll keep checking back there. Sometimes they do it pretty quickly, like 2 to 4 hours after they land. So we'll. Wow, there's a lot of choppers here. Yep, there's a Chinook. That says N43CU is that one of the night timers? Ah, N261CG. I think I need to Google real quick the nighttime, the call signs of the nighttime fire fighting helicopters of California. There's got to be. Let's see. Yeah, the Coulson Aviation's night flying helicopters. What's their call signs, though? I mean, that would be it. It says Coulson right on the. Wow, guys, we have the night timers here. Yeah, yeah, you're right, C-Probe. That's. Maybe we'll see nighttime helicopter tanker action from one of the cams. That would be spectacular. That would be incredible. Let's try to watch multiple cams. Let's add some more. So let's see. Let's see. Return to all cameras, and we can go to. Let's see. I forgot how to do this. Not just display. Oh yeah, search. Central Coast, and the one with the B was there. The Highway 101 Blueberry. Just put both in there because you never know when you're going to pick up a helicopter. So just display all 4 and see if these come around. Now let's look and see if we have any other cams we have not checked on. Dang it! I wish we could hear the pilots. I think I should check Broadcastify one more time and see if we possibly could. So there's our Inez Peak West. The other one's just not looking the correct direction. It's looking over towards the east. Helicopters can't work in the high winds, so it'll be interesting to see what they're able to accomplish. So there's Highway 101 Blueberry 2. Gosh, there's nothing else to look at except for the campus. Okay. Well, it makes it easier. This one is rotating, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry, Vomit Comet. Joyride here. The night rotors are Coulson. Yeah. Hey, Frank. Good to see you guys too. Cool. So let's. I guess these are our 5 cameras that can and may show us the helicopters at work. So if we can monitor that for a bit, we can see if we can see one. All right. Looking back at the chat, anybody have a specific question? We did the K&P update video. I want to see if there's been a Windy Fire update at all. I'm even happier to see that there's nighttime helicopter work on the Alisal. This is getting me pretty enthusiastic about this one. I'm feeling better about it. Now let's look back at chat. Thanks, Ellen, for the link about the fleet. Frank says winds over the fire were low to medium per local weather earlier. Good. I mean, Ventura County has red flag. Los Padres National Forest has red flag. This is almost red flag conditions. We'll look at windy and see what the forecast is there. Yeah, Frank says the windy and K&P seem pretty quiet. Yeah. You know, I found No, I didn't find, but I clicked on the link and forgot about it. One of you, I think it might have been KDOC, linked somebody drove in 2017 or 2018 with their kids to Tobias Peak Lookout, just with a dash cam. And so I watched that drive, and it was astonishing. There were so many dead giant trees everywhere around Tobias Peak. And it shows that shed that burned to the ground that night that we witnessed. And Tobias Peak is so lucky to just be standing. And there is, sure enough, a dead pine tree right next to it. So I do believe that that one probably was on fire and fell right either on or next to the shed, which burned it to the ground. But that tree had been standing there since 2017 or 2018. It's just mind-blowingly bad. The dry bushes, dead trees that they had right up next to the fire lookout station. And even though it was unmanned at the time that they visited it, it still got critical radio communications all over that hilltop, and allowing just dead trees all over the top of the and bushes all over the top of it is just absolutely dismaying to see. Without permission, I can't really show you that drive, but that was astonishing. Let's look at the windy and see about when we're supposed to have big change. So we've got that high pressure thing still out there in the Pacific, so that will funnel wind down the coast. Because what high pressure always means, think of it as the Viking shield with the big H in it. The other storms might want to pass and go through it, or other storms might want to pass, and it's you shall not pass. It bounces them off and says, go around me. And so winds will all funnel and concentrate around it in either side of high pressure like that. So we'll still have some crazy winds at sea. Don't be in the Pacific out to sea right now. That is just a good advice at the moment. Find safe harbor because of this massive. See, we're on wind gust mode. Pink is beyond 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. We're at surface winds. So inside of pink, where you see blue, is 60 and 70s. So that's off the Aleutian Islands right now, higher than 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts south of that area. So if we were to push forward in time with predictions here, the high remains off the Pacific. But look at that starting to come by on Saturday. That red thing. The high moves away, and now you see the storm able to come and approach the coast. Now it's breaking off and headed that way. This is theoretical, of course, because it's a model. But look how the high winds just slam into Northern California and the Tahoe area and where the Dixie fire is. That's going to be insane. Now, this is not anything to do with Santa Ana's and Diablos. This is from the ocean, as you can see. But on Sunday, whoa, up in that area, that would be pretty nuts. Now, remember the little flag is down here at Ventura County. Santa Barbara County. We don't see that red. We do see it on the Coast Range. Not the Coast Range, in the Sierras, like on Monday. You see that's that's faster than 55-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Wow, that's 65s and 70s in Yosemite on Monday, if this forecast is correct, at 4 in the morning. So, oh boy, do we have one heck of a week coming if this is all correct. But in a way, Santa Barbara is kind of dodging bullets. You don't see the red down by it. It doesn't mean that you can't have the occasional 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts or the 70 because of the Santa Ana wildcard thing going on right now. But just looking down the week, let's just hope that it stays a little pocket of calm in a sea of chaos. Look at what tomorrow at 2 p.m. is supposed to be. The 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts coming and ending up by Oxnard. This is what This is what I think is the big wild card. Will any of them, once they escape through the pass, will any of them go this way? But for the most part, as far as the forecast is concerned, it's indicating that's less of a possibility. So let's go back to the present. It's not really 8 p.m. I mean, it's 10 p.m. ish. We don't have a lot of activity, but we have winds, a south wind. If you plant the flag at Sylvain, a north wind, where earlier today it was supposedly a south. So I'm really confused about this. I don't see the smoke going that direction. Let's just make a nice time lapse. And do a 3-hour. Let's look at our smoke directions. Yeah, earlier in the day it was a south wind, and it switched. The sundowners came. Well, I don't even see anything like sundowner wind. This is very mild. This is very mild right now. So doesn't mean it'll be like that all night. But they're hitting it with everything they got. Helicopters at night, and look at the incredible amount of ground crew response. This is they're seizing that window of opportunity that tonight's providing them. Zulu equals GMT. Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. So, yeah, C probe. Thanks for explaining that. So let's see the remarkable difference if we plant the flag just over here at Oxnard. Look, it's not that far away, and look at the incredible difference you see down here. Sorry, let me make this larger. I know it's very hard to see, so that I'll try to be specific with the pen here. This is the area that shows the wind gust. We are in wind gust mode, which is the thing that matters the most for fires. So here at Thursday, 10 p.m., we don't have too much going on. And then the Santa Anas kick in tomorrow. Starting around 8 a.m., you can start to see the orangey color. The orangey color is the 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts. And then you get deeper into reds. Reds are beyond 35s, with the pinks start getting towards 50-ish. So the pinks really come into force from 11 to 5 p.m. tomorrow, if you plant the flag at Oxnard. And if you planted the flag over here where there's a lighter pink, you can see how the 44-mile-an-hour wind gust is over there. Is our pink color. So that would be average. You know, this is average. You have to hear a weather report such as National Weather Service and the special weather statements, and they will say the peak wind gusts, and that'll be the occasionals that are much greater in force than the average ones. So we know the 55s are possible from the weather reports from the meteorologists who have been describing this stuff. And hi, Heather, by the way. Now let's go back up there. Heather says, "Wow, Kathryn, I went to the hospital and you were here. Get out and you were gone. Glad to see you back, even though the circumstances." Oh, are you okay? Are you okay, Heather? You were in the hospital? Said, "My son and daughter live with their dad in Oxnard." Well, they better batten down the hatches because the wind is coming. We just better really hope that there's no new starts over in Ventura County, because that's gonna be really a nightmare. I'm more concerned right now for a new fire start in Ventura County, as far as my anxiety levels go, than what's going on in Santa Barbara. That they did such an incredible job with the last 24 hours of firefighting, of trapping it, where it's just continuously eating the very small amount of fuel left to it. I am much more concerned now about Santa Ana new starts. over here. I don't know if SoCal Edison is going to do the shutoffs like they were talking about, or if they feel compelled to, but I really hope so. Ventura County is now what I'm quite worried about, as far as what complicates things, because that will draw away resources, perhaps even from what's going on in Santa Barbara. Can you imagine trying to mop up this stuff in Santa Barbara, and there's desperate calls for help from the county next door saying neighborhoods are in danger, and there's that terrible decision, do you save like a single thing like Reagan Ranch, which is historical and very important, but it's still a single property, or do you go with mutual aid and help the county next door and try to save a city? That's the kind of terrible choices that happen too often when these fires break out. They seem to be getting the upper hand on one when there's a super mega emergency that they have to split forces with. And so the bottom line is everything looks great for the Alisal, and it might be wrapped up somewhat soon if no new nearby fire starts in the next few days. If one does, though, it might be really bad, quite bad of a situation. So that's, if you just tuned in for like, what are we facing? That's the brass tacks of it. That's the summary. Now we have to sit back and wait and analyze. So let's look back at the other cams. Does anybody have any like questions about that situation? This is what I know to the best of my knowledge. Do you have insiders take? Are you in the area? Do you know things that I don't? Have you seen news reports I haven't, or anything of the sort? Do let me know. At the moment, though, I think that's what we're looking at. So let's go back to Highway 101, Blueberry Cam. If you are in a warning zone, I would be ready to move at a moment's notice. Santa Ana winds are not a joke. Meteorology is not an exact science, but things change in a moment's notice, and a giant wind gust happen, and it jumps a line, and it runs for a neighborhood. Absolutely. If you're in one of the warning areas, I would be prepared to leave at a moment's notice, and keep the cell phones charged, keep the TV on, in case the emergency broadcast system has to happen. Make sure you're signed up for all emergency alerts, not only in the major settings of your phone, but also, with the county, with Santa Barbara County. And that is this really cool website that they set up, readysbc.org. They can reach you if you sign up for it. So where's their button to do the sign up? If you just go to Santa Barbara County, readysbc.org, register for alerts. So this is the website. I'm going to put it in chat. But let's fingers crossed, that that everything's going to go okay. Having nighttime helicopters gives me even greater confidence. So just remember, critical fire danger, 6 a.m. Friday, 8 p.m. Saturday for the general region. Up to 90 degrees in temperature. That's Southern California for you. That's Southern California for you. So stay vigilant, but there's every reason to have hope at this point in time. Let's go. Let's see, back to my evacuation page. Refresh it. Make sure there's nothing new. I wouldn't imagine so. The last updates were at 5 p.m. And I am so glad that things are looking this good. And let me close down a couple of tabs. Now we should read special weather statements. I think for Ventura County, there's got to be one. They had that lovely graphic. So the wind advisory and the red flag are for Oxnard. So wind advisory in effect from 3 a.m. Friday to noon Saturday. Northeast winds 20 to 30 miles an hour with gusts up to 45 are expected at Oxnard in that area. The affected areas are LA County, San Fernando Valley, Santa Paula, Fillmore, Thousand Oaks, Simi Valley, Newbury Park, Santa Clarita, Newhall, Valencia, Northridge, Burbank, etc. You know, that area. So that's going to be a sustained 20 to 30 mile an hour winds with gusts of 45 expected. Where at Ventura County interior valleys, coastal valleys, Santa Monica Mountains, etc., impacts gusty winds will blow around unsecured objects, making driving difficult, especially for high-profile vehicles. Tree limbs could be blown down, and a few power outages may result. I hope they just cut the power. That would be best. That would be best. For red flag warning, you have the same kind of a deal. A moderate Santa Ana wind event will develop over much of the LA and Ventura counties beginning Friday morning, continuing into Saturday evening. Peak wind gusts are expected between 30 and 45 miles an hour, with isolated areas gusting to around 55. The peak winds are expected in the morning and early afternoon hours of each day. Widespread humidities in the single digits and low teens are expected, along with very warm temps peaking around 80 and 90 degrees across coastal and valley areas. As a result of these gusty Santa Anas with low relative humidity, critical fire weather conditions are expected. So it's from 6 a.m. Friday to 8 p.m. on Saturday. So hold on to your butts. Just pray that there's not a new fire start, because that would get out of control very fast. Single digit humidity to low teens is, oh God, no. That's extremely, extremely bad. You don't have to have insane winds in this kind of a drought condition to have insane fire spread insanely fast. So fingers crossed, guys. So 90 degrees, single digits. Ugh. That's what the special weather statement for the Oxnard and surrounding areas is at. And of course, the small craft advisory at sea. And if you haven't seen the crazy, look at the ocean. Just maybe not the best time to be at sea. Look at the giant horseshoe-shaped quasi-hurricane wannabe hanging out there in the Pacific. Just ready to slam into the West Coast. And in a way, Southern California is being protected by the high-pressure shield. So it's mostly, if this high-pressure shield stays off Baja and LA coast, then, that's basically what they think is going to make the insano winds off the Oregon and Northern California coast. When I say insano winds, I mean these. When all winds funnel together in one spot, that's how you get them that high. Remember, this is the Viking shield, you shall not pass. So the wind's trying to go that way, go, whatever, I'll go up here. And they're meeting the other ones, the ones that are already this way, just making that insane times. That's going to be gale force stuff. That might be insane. Like, if you have like reservations for the coast, like in a sturdy building, that might be the coolest storm watching anywhere from Eureka to Vancouver Island. That might be something incredible. Okay, let's go back to the task at hand and look at our cams and such. Okay, so where's the helicopters? Are they still running around? Going back up to chat, Alan T says, how does this happen? Okay, I'll look at this. What do we got here? Whoa. How does that happen? Well, is this the spot where there was a sprinkler? That's what makes me wonder. Is the calf sitting on top of a sprinkler head? Was it on? Or is this just one spot that didn't burn? There's always little patches that don't burn. And the poor thing was walking on the hot ash and finally found a place where the hooves weren't hot anymore and sat down in it. I don't think that the fire burned around the calf. I think maybe it just walked to that place and sat down. Or maybe the sprinkler was on and it just kept it safe right there. That's, what is this from? What is this? What's the context here? That's an incredible photo, either way. Is it? It's from it's 4 minutes ago, but I don't see any. I don't see context. If there's no sprinkler, then wow. Okay, let's. It's from a wildland fire, but that is dead grass. True, but you could let the grass die, but then as a fire's coming, turn your sprinklers on. You know, not everybody keeps their lawn alive, you know, or a pasture alive. So you could turn on your sprinklers and just have that area of dead grass not burn. You uploaded it 4 minutes ago. Well, where is it? What is what is the background story on that? That's pretty. It's pretty incredible. Now let's look at our helicopters. Are they still working it? They're gone. No. They're gone. They're not working it. Dang it. I want more. I want nighttime helicopter drops. Dang it. Okay. Let's do our quick time lapse. They were there, and that helps turn the tide. Like I say, we're going to have an easier time in the future fighting fires, wildfires. Well, even structure fires too, because of new technology. Fires pretty much go to sleep. They go into sluggish mode at night, usually, just typically, because there's higher humidity, there's less heat from the sun, there's usually very calm winds because the sun kind of heats up. The sun strengthens wind. It's a weird phenomenon. Can't remember what that's called, but that's mostly when we can't fly aircraft. But can you imagine, we can only fly aircraft during a small period during the day, and it ends very early, even though there's sun in the sky, because there's so many dark shadows because of canyons. So it usually wraps up by 6 p.m. even if sunset is at 10 p.m. It's usually like 10 in the morning through 6 p.m. Imagine if we could hit 24 hours a day of fire with aircraft. That would absolutely be a game changer. So we're in our infancy right now with that technology. Now that we have FLIR cameras, different ways of seeing at night, seeing through smoke, remote control for some types of aircraft. Right now it's in its infancy. When it gets perfected, and that might be quick. I mean, if they poured money to it and effort, that might be within the next 4 to 5 years. We will have a completely different game. And that'll be a massive game changer where we have fires that are absolutely squashed and contained within like 48 hours, thanks to just constant bucket drops and constant retardant drops. The name of the game will be Retardant Cage, and then drop water in the center. That could be, I mean, you don't want to accidentally miss and wash away retardant, but I just given you a glimpse of what the future firefighting might be, and it'll be so different. So when people are despairing, think these will only get worse, no. With the right tools, the right priorities, the right budget, and moving quickly through this, we'll have so much of an easier wildfire fighting experience in the future. We are just in a hump of difficulty right now, because mega drought makes the difficulty hump. Here's the drought. In the past, things were wetter, and so it was easier fighting the fires. We had technology like airplanes, and then we had a wetter environment and such. And many other factors. And then we have the difficulty curve here with the drought. And so we are right here at maximum difficulty. We have short staffing. We have many issues. We have COVID. We have aging aircraft, and we have aging equipment. But we just developed a whole lot of new technology, like firefighting at night for airplanes. So we're still here, but as the years go by, the difficulty will go down because we will have, right now we have 2 helicopters that fight fires at night. What if a year from now we have 7 of them, and a year after that we've got 20 of them. A year after that we have 40 of them. Can you imagine how much easier that will be? Every single fire that breaks out, we have 40 nighttime helicopters that'll hit, and then they'll start adding airplanes too. That's what we have to look forward to if we press for it, and if officials and powers that be notice what needs to happen and just push buttons to make it happen. Cut that red tape and just do it. So I like to give people a sense of hope that is grounded in firm reality. The good thing about despair, the only good thing about it, is it's usually because of ignorance out of good things, ignorance of good possibilities. If you don't know that this technology is coming, you can't be excited about it, right? Yeah, Desiree says this helicopter looks so cool in the time lapse. Yeah, this is just current technology of spotlights and such, helping out the ground crews. There's so many other new technologies that are coming down the pipe. I'll have to do a special on that. But we're finally seeing the flames over the ridge at a couple of these points, but it's stopping there. And that's great. Some of this is probably backfiring operations too. So look how it's gone at the very end of the frame, which ends right now at 10:39, whatever. Can't see it anymore. So great. This is just wonderful. Let's do a 15-minute time lapse. You can see the flashes of light and some puffs of smoke. This is from inland, looking at the coast range, looking towards the ocean. From the northwest, looking to the southeast, I believe that's the angle. Yeah. So, great. So everything will depend on what can they do tonight. What's it going to look like by the morning? Does a new fire break out anywhere else? So we just have to sit back and wait. Just have to sit back and wait. So, yeah, Rob, that's difficult to kind of say. There's plenty of aircraft just sitting on Air Force bases right now that could potentially be used for the firefight. We did see a surge in Hercules being converted to MAFs, M-A-F-F-S. M-A-F-F-S. I want to point out deficiencies as well as praise what has been done. So the Hercules were more easily converted into tankers. They're like a workhorse type of an airplane that just transports tanks and troops and whatever you need it to do. So with MAFs, they turned regular cargo Hercules planes into firefighting tankers that just drop retardant or water or whatever you need. We saw a huge surge in that, so that was done right. That was something done right. There's plenty of helicopters sitting around that could be used. Chinooks, Sikorskis for nighttime firefighting. What is in short supply is the special equipment that you would have to rig those helicopters with so that they could give visuals so the pilots could see, like FLIR, infrared, and traditional nighttime night vision. They probably would have to switch between different vision modes. Plus, it's the training. This is some of the world's most deadly and dangerous flying. That during the daytime. During the nighttime, you're compounding it by a factor of 6, the danger. So you have to have super pilots that are elite. Then they have to go through a robust training course. And then they have to be paired with their machine, then they have to practice, then they're ready for prime time. That just takes a while. I'm not defending it, but I'm saying that that's a reality, and I don't know any other particulars. But it's been explained to me that you can't just stick a random pilot into a crazy equipped helicopter and say, go ahead and dump water and such. I think you have to take the pilots that already know what to do during the daytime and then train them for what they should be doing at night. In fact, I mean, that would be the smart way to do it, in my opinion. So I have no idea why we have just two. California purchased a bunch, and it was explained to me that they're sitting on the tarmac because they don't have qualified enough people to man them yet, but they should be ready by next year. So don't quote me on it, but that's all that I know about the situation. Hey Tracy, I missed you too. JD says 90, anything sucks, temperature or humidity. Yes, that's something I would agree with, except I love 112 degree heat. I don't know why. I grew up that way in California. It was that hot all the time. I still love it. It's got to be dry though, or I hate it. I hate 85 degrees and a lot of humidity, but if it's dry, I think I'd fit pretty well in Death Valley. I'd probably go, oh yeah, this is good. But then again, I'm a reptile. So John Sater says, wow, this must be a record. Where are the wrenches? Oh, you mean where are the mods? I don't know, vacation maybe. I mean, I started the stream pretty late. I just want to show you guys, if you just tuned in, this is the nighttime helicopters that were presumably working. Let me redo the time lapse. I thought we'd be able to monitor this. Oh, we got a flare up. That's the latest image. We just got a flare up right there. See the left side of the screen? You can see a little bit of the smoke drifting to the right side of the screen. So yeah, we've got a flare up right there. Since we're looking in the southwest, we've got wind pushing it to the west. Look at the smoke direction. Look at the smoke direction going to the right on the screen. Remember, it's mirrored, it's backwards. So what that means is this. Now let me do the time lapse again. Now it's drifting in a lazy kind of a manner, but it's very low to the ground. If you don't have much smoke, the smoke would be vertical. I mean, sorry, if you don't have much wind, the smoke is vertical. But when you do have higher wind, the smoke is more of a horizontal travel. However, I don't see a crazy high wind kind of a factor, because you can also look at part of the smoke and see how fast it travels. You know, if you see a certain puff of something that makes a shape, watch that particular shape and move across the landscape, and like where this kind of a round bulb kind of is, how fast does it take it to go? How fast is that puff traveling? So let's watch this again. So this, it's got a decent rate of speed. Wish vegetation was in the foreground. So maybe we're seeing an increase in winds as we speak. Let's look at the forecast. Look at this model again. So we're just kind of, let's put it on the ridge by Solvang, just south of Solvang. Go back to present. Supposedly, a north wind is supposed to be 7 miles an hour with gusts of 13. Not seeing that. We're seeing the smoke travel to the west. It kind of is a northeast wind, kind of going that way, sort of. Making go to the southwest. It's almost in alignment with what the forecast model was saying, but I think what we're seeing is a much stronger, at least at this very moment, bent towards more of like it's traveling towards the southwest. So let's look back at our window things. You can see the flare up here from the west cam. Let's look at it from a different angle. Because now we're looking from east to west, almost due west. So let's do our time lapse. 1 hour. Yeah, there's the helicopters. You see how they were buzzing around the last hour? I hope they come back. I hope they come back. So you see how it's lazy, lazy, lazy? And then I wonder what the flare-up is. Are they lighting it on purpose? Or did the wind just like poof something up? I really wish we could hear. If we had radio, we'd hear stuff like, are we approved for our operation? Yeah, meteorologist said go. Okay, we'll start it. And if we hear that, then like a second later we would see a whoosh, of activity, and we'd be comfortably knowing, what that is. So it's not that big. The flare-up is not that big on this camera angle. It doesn't look that much. We've got a lot of fog-type smoke settling down by the beach. Remember, the beach is to the left side of the screen, the ocean. We're looking almost due west. Let's see. The fact that it is a bit hazy, it means it's not that windy. We should see very clear sky with lots of stars if it was very windy and very clear night. The amount of stars we see on these camps is only limited by the haze and the smoke. There is usually a lot on the camps in the sky, and you could just barely see one or two moving across the sky like so. You can tell them apart from planes because there's this curve like this. So if you see the stars moving along the curve towards the horizon, then you know that it's planetary bodies. A plane is going to go like a direction, Okay, going back to the chat. Oh, you guys are talking about tall ships and stuff. I do like history. Anybody have a question for me? JD was saying that pier, no more. What pier? JD says Santa Ana's whilst I lived in Huntington Beach were scary stuff. Yeah, they're terrifying. Let's see. Desiree says there are some dogs trapped in a piece of land in La Palma surrounded by the lava. That's what that calf picture reminded me of. Yeah, the local authorities have been using drones to make food drops and give them water. I've seen that. That's so heartwarming. They've got a good chance of survival. Lava is like that. The ghost towns I've studied where lava actually ran through the towns, especially in Mexico, if you've got sturdy enough stone kind of walls, or even sometimes they're adobe structures, lava can sometimes wrap around a building or a property and harden, and it makes like a sort of a wall that funnels away successive flows of lava. And a lot of the buildings still stand even though lava is within them and their roof burns off. I thought that church in that one new ghost town starts with a T. Every single building has been destroyed in the last 24 hours. It was really sad. That entire town is now a Class A ghost town, meaning nothing left. Nothing. That church, I thought the bell tower would be sticking out of the lava as a permanent kind of a tourist attraction, a permanent like memorial almost to the town, but it then collapsed. It's luck of the draw. If there's too much pressure and weight of the lava on the walls, then the stone walls will push in and collapse, and that's what happened. But the strange thing about other things, like I can show you the Mexican ghost town destroyed by lava. One of the strangest ghost town stories, period. I just want to take a really quick detour here to talk about it. I believe is this one, Viejo San Juan. I cannot say that. Peron or Garicusio? Okay, I'm not going to try to attempt that. San Juan P in Mexico. The church is buried halfway in lava rock and is all that remains of a Mexican village destroyed by a volcano. The most incredible story here is that a farmer was plowing his field one day in the 40s, and the ground shook, and a vent fissure opened up, and a new volcano just, boom, emerged out of the blue in his field. And it formed really quickly. This is by 1943. It's going off, and then eventually the lava just covers the landscape and makes it a wasteland. And it flowed right up to the church. And being made out of stone, it was the only structure that couldn't 100% burn down. The roof rafters, which are of course wood, all burned down. But the lava went straight up to the church, surrounded it very deeply, and then cooled and hardened. Looks like they still walk into it today to decorate it. And that's that. So I thought the one in La Palma would be like that, but the bell tower completely collapsed yesterday on the videos. So, but you see this around the world in a couple of different places. I think Sicily might have a couple. You see things like this in Guatemala. Volcanic ghost towns are a small club, but it's one of the larger clubs of the rare ghost town clubs. There's many examples. Nuclear ghost towns are kind of rare, more rare, I would say. So, but it's absolutely sad what's happening at La Palma. But the just like this building can survive, if lava cools around where the dogs are, which it looked like it did, they'll eventually be able to helicopter and go in and get them. I actually don't know why they haven't done it already. The only thing that could kill the dogs are the gases, the toxic gases that could just sweep over the area. Well, we have a big flare-up visible on the cam here on the Blueberry. Let's go check our cams again. I think I should open a few more tabs. Yeah, so here's the Blueberry. So this is the western end of the fire. Let's do a 15-minute. And check out what this scenario is. If I were like in their shoes, just knowing the limitations of what I know, like what do we know? What have they told us? If I were in this scenario, my idea would be like, hey, the winds are calm right now. Let's light everything on fire that we can while it's calm to make way for the fact that Santa Ana's could affect the area tomorrow unexpectedly. We want the unburned pockets of fuel to burn now while it's calm rather than tomorrow when there's Santa Ana craziness in single digits. So that could be what we're witnessing. They could be doing that policy right now of let's light the strategic backfires and get, especially around their lines, so that if it gets crazy tomorrow, the lines hold. And so that would be my guess. I don't see crazy winds that would explain a new giant flare-up unless they wanted to cause one. Let's do a 1-hour time lapse from here from Santa Ynez. Now we know they have been doing night after night some backfiring, and they reported success. So I imagine they're just continuing. What the helicopters just did helped them a lot. And let's see, I wish there was something in the foreground that would give us an idea of wind. But look at the haze. Wind can't be too bad with that kind of haze. And I think the other cam makes the flare up worse than this view does. Remember, what we're seeing is light as well as fire. So back here at 10:45, it's now 11:03. It was just starting to get a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. And just that one particular spot, and a tiny spot further to the west. So we got the tinier one here, the bigger one here. Both are visible on the Blueberry cam. Oh, and there's of course the UFOs flying around, right? So, did anybody have a question about the actual fires here? We could watch a couple more video updates. Because we have to let time pass on these, because you can't really tell what exactly is going on if you just keep the still images up that update once a minute. You know everything when you have a time lapse. If we were to just sit here and stare at this, that doesn't help us too much. But if we time lapse, we see when. So we should be running a new time lapse every 15 minutes at least. But in between the 15 minutes, there's not much to do. We had a K&P update. I want to check on. I want to check on the others, because we had a new video just 1 minute ago from Shasta National Forest.
Jeff Henson, I'm the operator.
Yeah, here's. It says it's 49 minutes ago now. I guess when the pop-up happened, it was 1 minute ago. Let's do this and check out the summaries for like Dixie and River and Monument or whatever we can right now. Here we go.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Henson. I'm the Operations Second Chief here on California Team 14. We're on the east zone of the Dixie fire. Today is October the 14th, 2021. We continue to have good progression in our repair plan and all the repair we're doing out on the Dixie East here. We've kind of been working in the same areas the last few days. A lot of work to be done in those areas. So I'll just kind of go over that. Here in the Round Valley Reservoir, a lot of suppression damage was done out there with dozer lines. As the fire moved through, created a lot of hazard trees. So we're going in there and repairing those dozer lines by pulling berms back in, resurfacing the road, trying to get vegetation on those dozer lines, and blocking them from further access of OHV and other folks that might be trying to get out there on them, and then following hazard trees out there and getting them on the ground and making the access points to the Round Valley Reservoir, either up Dixie Canyon or out of Greenville there, safe to travel. Finishing up our work here, we've been talking about it for a few days, the Mount Huff Lookout Road and the China Grade Road. Both of those projects were done falling hazard trees in there and falling the timber, but we're still working on decking that stuff and cleaning it up. So another day or two in there, we ought to be wrapping up Mount Huff and China Grade. We're still working around the Taylorsville area here a little bit, where a lot of work was done, but we're putting some of the finishing touches right around the Taylorsville proper there. And for the most part, still moving north up the Diamond Mountain Road where it ties into Lights Creek, and then coming, working east on the Beardsley Grade Road, and some of the private lands along there. And in the forest, same stuff, repairing dozer lines, fallen hazard trees, starting to grade some of the dirt roads. We recently got some graders in, and we're expecting more, so we should be seeing more road repair here soon. But yeah, Beardsley Grade, and then down on the Genesee Beckworth Road, same stuff as the Beardsley Grade. Big project here that we've been talking about for a few days, the Grizzly Ridge, still progressing nicely on there, coming from both Lake Davis, heading east or north, and then coming down Grizzly Ridge from the north and the west here, and those two groups are working towards each other. There's also, as the Genesee, Beckworth Genesee Road here, and there's a dozer line that connected the Genesee Beckworth Road to Grizzly Ridge. So we're working on that dozer line in here as well. And things are going well in there. Got a lot of equipment working and things are going smoothly. Down in here in the Dada Saddle area, repairing some meadow restoration in there and whatnot. We've been in there for a couple days and looking for another day or two, hopefully, and we'll be finishing that project up. Some of that area is a meadowy area that was torn up by the dozers, and sod was rolled out of the way. So kind of some of that project is rolling the sod back in place and trying to get it back to a natural state. Coming north here, a lot of this area has been completed. So we bump up here to Antelope Lake, and in this area here, we're working equipment from both directions, and things are going well in there. They're really making some headway in there, and looking to tie that in soon and be able to move equipment on further west. Up in here off the Diamond Mountains, this is a big long dozer line. It was approximately 5 miles long. The word I got this afternoon is they were hoping to get that done today, and if not today, or by tomorrow, and they've scouted out and have where they're going to move the equipment next, moving west here along the Boulder Creek area back towards Lights Creek Road. We are continuing to see smokes pop up on a daily basis. Just a couple, 3 a day. Today we had some near the Mount Jura area, just east of Taylorsville. You may have seen that. We actually were able to get a helicopter up today to help us identify the smokes and find out if there was any threat they were posing. They weren't posing a big threat, just out in the middle of the black, but we did put a crew in to some of those smokes to put them to bed and take care of them. Again, on that, if you see smokes and you want to report them, you can call the Plumas County Sheriff's Department, and they'll get word to us here at the ICP, or Incident Command Post, and we'll respond appropriately to them. Other than that, the weather's cooperating with us for now. There is maybe some systems in the future here in the next week or so that could bring some wetting rains, and so we're watching that closely, or some higher winds. And that's the end of the report, and we'll do it again tomorrow. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you could say that fire crews have had a long month. Several months, actually. I don't know if he was exactly slurring his words, maybe a little bit. Some of it might be nervousness in front of the camera, and some of it's just straight up fatigue. What was he holding in his hand? A wrench? Okay, now guys, we have a new pointer. Is that a socket wrench, or is that a back scratcher? Back scratchers usually telescope, and that's been one of the cooler pointers we've ever seen. But if that's socket wrench, then that's a new one, and he gets a prize for that. What do you guys think that is? It's not quite an ice cream scoop. It kind of looks like a socket wrench. It's dipped like a tool for like greasy hands kind of a deal. He forgets that it's in his hand most of the time after he gestured with it once, and so he's just sort of holding it. You could say, yeah, it's a long, fatiguing thing. He probably woke up at like 5 in the morning, and this was just uploaded, what, an hour ago now? Yeah, I would be pretty tired too. I've gone 5 minutes on the stream talking to myself when I'm tired, and then people look back and say, is there no sound? And I go, oh man, really? Okay. And I unmute myself. I really sympathize. So on the Dixie here, this map is just this craziest, most colorful thing I've ever seen. I hate these. My ADD brain hates these. This is overstimulating to the max. We have no idea what the heck it's about because we don't see the map key. So what's purple, red, green, yellow, and black? We have no idea what this is. The key is up here. We could try to find a copy of this map. Why is there a giant plus here? Oh, why is there a strip over here by Dyer Mountain of banded diagonal lines? Why is there one over here west of Lake Davis? Is that just still hotspots? I think we should find Dixie Fire maps. And we'll keep refreshing the Alisal one to see if we get a new map here from the plane that should have landed by now, and they should be working on the new infrared flight. Let's look at Dixie. See if we can get an explanation. Okay, 94% containment. Still, same as yesterday. So let's go to our map section. I don't even know what kind of map that was, Frank, or anybody else. Do you guys know what the heck that was? You think it's a back scratcher, Smitty? Yeah, probably. It did look a little bit like a socket wrench, but it had like claw fingers. It just says fire map, but we are not looking at the crazy one that he was looking at. I don't know what to make of that kind of map. John Sater says that map is an exact overlay of Eastern Europe. What? 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 I'm not getting the joke. Oh, you just mean like how small and tiny the borders are on everything? Okay. All right. And maybe I can't make head or tails of that unless we can find a copy. I was hoping it would just say what the map name is, but it's cut off at the top. Then I could just Google like what it is. Look, we also have Caldor updates. So let's look at Siskiyou County. We're waiting for a couple minutes to go by to look at the Alisal and redo the time lapses. So that's what we're doing, is killing a little bit of time by looking at the other fires for a moment. Lake Tahoe posted about the Caldor. Hey, let's look at the Caldor's update.
Good morning, Adam Hyder, Planning Ops Trainee with Great Basin Incident Management, Team 7 with your morning informational briefing. So what happened out on the fire yesterday down here in the south end? They patrolled the area. There was a lot of smokes interior as the day heated up. Nothing adjacent to the line. There was a few small stump holes that they mopped up yesterday, but spent most of their time just patrolling around, moving over into Gulf India Mike, this north end of the fire. Few smoke reports yesterday got called in. Same thing, they spent most of their time mopping up some small things along the road. They also helped some of the repair groups with a little bit of rehab with their hand crews since they couldn't get up around Echo Lake and that high country. One of the questions on Facebook the other day is why this thing didn't get called 100% contained with some snow on it. The snow wasn't evenly scattered across the area, especially in some of these areas where the fire line is not contained, specifically these two areas. We had good air yesterday. The division supervisors got up in a helicopter and went and flew that area. Since it's quite a ways back up in the wilderness there, there's still a fair amount of heat in the heavy fuels, pockets of heavy timber up in there. We don't see it really going anywhere, but there still is stuff burning up there on the line. So we're going to keep an eye on that and make sure it doesn't go anywhere. If it starts moving around, we'll take action appropriately. And we do still have aircraft on the fire, so we'll continue to fly that, keep eyes on it, and if we need to, we'll get helicopters in there and start putting stuff out. The repair group up here in the right area got a lot of work done yesterday, rehabbing dozer lines and some hand line, cleaning out culverts. A lot of good work getting done over there. The MET repair had a very productive day yesterday. Normal rates of production, so a lot of hazard tree falling happened down in there. The plumber repair group same thing. A lot of good work got done in there. We got some supervision over here in Grizzly Flats so that they can continue on with the hazard tree mitigation stuff in there. So the damage assessment folks and those kind of people can get in there and finish getting the work done that needs to get done in there. And they're going to continue working on the repair down in this south end. The Kirkwood repair group, they're just about finished up in that area in there around drop point 16 off Highway 88 in the Kirkwood area. They got a few small things to finish up, some chipping and some rehab on some actual lines. They should be done in the next day or two, and then we'll be moving them on to a new repair assignment. The Cody Meadow repair group, they got a lot of work done yesterday. Over a mile of dozer line was repaired in that group yesterday. So we anticipate a lot of good work being done in there today. The divisions over on this end, they're continuing to mop up stump holes and stuff in this area where the fire line's open. In the other areas where the fire's contained, they were able to pull a lot of hose and pumps and get some backhaul done to help repair and get ready to open up some of those areas. For those folks that don't know, we did, the forest is opening up some closure areas here and here. We're still going to have a lot of folks in those areas doing rehab work, a lot of fire traffic on top of normal traffic. So please try to avoid those areas if you can. That's all I have for your morning briefing. Thank you.
Okay, so the thing that's not being said too is that the 100% containment is what the public wants to see, but it's not what firefighters want to see. They want to keep it at 94 to 98. They still have extra funding that they get if the fire is technically not 100% contained. It's just a stupid bureaucratic number thing. But once you see like high 90s percentages, that usually means that they're just gonna keep it that way for funding purposes. It doesn't mean that they're stuck on something or they're incompetent or they can't wrap something up. They definitely can. They just have to work with the bureaucracy. So they can't announce that to the public, but that's word on the street that we can announce to the public. We see some head scratcher things like the Beckworth, still 98% and not 100%, even to this day, I believe. Remember the Beckworth was basically out by the time the Dixie started. It is technically at 98%. That's updated, last updated on the 6th of October, because there's really nothing new to update it. The reason that the Beckworth was not announced as contained is because on the Dixie here, the Dixie spots that took off a life of their own burned right up to the Beckworth line. And so if the Beckworth was 100% done, they wouldn't get funding to make contingency lines like this, to do a catcher's mitt for the Dixie, because it's technically not the Dixie fire. So it's just a stupid strategic thing. When they're completely done with hotspot detections and mop-up and everything they have to do over here by the Dixie, you'll probably see it just go to suddenly 100%, and the Dixie might go to 100% at exactly the same time. It's going to be hard to predict, but I still can't even. This all happened to California. You can barely fit it in the frame in just a couple of months, guys. Can you imagine somebody who fell into a coma at like 4th of July, waking up right now and saying, "Oh yeah, I missed California summer, but I think I'll go recreate by Lake Eleanor." What the hell happened? What the hell happened? What the hell happened? Yeah. I still can't wrap my head around this. It's just kind of insanity. If the Beckworth plus the Dixie are just going to define the landscape for such a long time. But it goes to show that public should never be angry about a high percentage of containment. It's just they're doing their thing. It's helpful to take it to 98% and then leave it right there for a few months. Well, I'm looking back at chat. People are talking about the Minoans and the Phoenicians. That's a cool conversation. I want to be in that one. What were you guys saying about Minoans and Phoenicians? Oh, they're looking at the map of the Mediterranean or the Europe. Is that what the conversation's about? Desiree, I'm totally lost in whatever you guys were talking about. Okay, so he needed a back scratcher. He was without a pointer as well, and so we have to dock a few points for that presentation being without back scratcher. But yeah, here's the tankers. If you guys want to know more about the Coulson Aviation nighttime tankers that were working the Alisal here, then that's where I was looking at this article. You might have to log in and subscribe to read the whole thing. I don't know, but it's pretty cool. Okay, so let's look back now. We should have enough time to do a time lapse. This is our current images. Everything looks so mild. Just fingers crossed. Beyond 3 a.m. in the morning, that's when the red flags really start for Ventura County next door. So things could change, but mostly for Ventura County next door. Santa Barbara County is kind of like in this little protected zone, supposedly. Although I would just caution everybody with the whole wild card. Santa Ana winds are a wild card in general. People are asking how long do the Santa Anas actually last? It depends, just like Desiree was saying. It's usually a couple of days. Hey, Shaz. Hello, how are you? Yeah, that's a great photo. So here's our latest 15-minute time lapse of that, investigating that big flare-up that we were seeing. It's already calm again in general. You see flashes and then dying down of like where you see little groves of bushes going up in smoke. That's our very last image. So I'm feeling very, very confident that if there is no new fire start tomorrow or tonight, the Alisal will be wrapped up quickly. They did such a phenomenal job today. Today was a make or break, 24 hours. They made it. They have everything going for them right now, where they could really, really take command and deliver the knockout blow to the fire. But that is if there's no new start and if the Santa Anas don't get unexpectedly crazy. But barring those two things, I have every confidence that just things are going as well as they could possibly expect right now. So yeah, going back to chat, does anybody have a question about things? I don't think there's much to monitor throughout the night, and I will wrap up the stream for computer maintenance and some neglected bill paying and like household chores and stuff. I thank you so much for the donations and the likes and the subscribes. If you haven't subscribed, I try to keep this a pretty 24-hour-a-day fire information stream for whenever there's a big crisis. The reason it's not 24 hours in the last week, like it usually is because my window melted. Rain came in through it. It melted a bookcase and some minor things in the living room. So it's been chaos trying to do home repair. I'm also living in a construction zone where it's been chaos, where they did crazy maintenance and said that nighttime interruptions would happen the last 2 weeks for the most part. So it's been a little bit difficult to stream, but we should be going back towards 24-hour streams during a crisis somewhat soon here. But I have to do major computer work, apply the upgrades with your generous donations, PayPal, and the super chat stickers in chat. I have made a couple of purchases. Some of them arrived in the mail yesterday. It's an incredible amount of hard drive space. I have been streaming almost consecutively every single day since July 14th. My voice is not in the best shape right now. Speaking 10 to 14 hours a day for almost 85 consecutive days was brutal. So it's not 100%. I don't feel like I can speak for 10 hours right now, or even more than 5. Right now it's starting to hurt, and we've been live about 2 hours and 24 minutes. I would like, while things are less active, like night times, to just completely give it a rest. And try to work on my computer, because we don't know when the next big fire is. I'm feeling pressure already to just throw everything quickly at upgrading the computer and getting it ready to be there for the next big thing. Remember, California's worst fire season is winter. Paradise Fire happened in November 8th as a date. We had the Santa Rosa burning down and the Cascade Fire happening October 8th or 9th, something like that, the previous year before Paradise. We had the Zog Fire and such last year. They were happening in late fall. So we've had other historic fires in December. It's Santa Ana and Diablo wind season, October, November, December, and January. So usually the Santa Anas or the Diablo winds don't last beyond 2 days, but that's all it takes to erase a town off the map. So right now I have almost all of my hard drives full of 80, I think we have about 90 days now of fire streams that lasted almost 24 hours. I've already filled up an entire 6 terabyte. I bought a 16 terabyte to give myself a little cushion. But I gotta do transfers. Only so many hard drives fit in the computer, and I don't want them all to be external. You should see what my bookcase looks like right now. But enough of the babbling. I want to just, long story short, make the computer ready. So I'm doing it little bit by little bit, backing up things, and then I'll take the plunge, completely reinstall Windows, reinstall everything, and start over. Because that's what I need to do to make the computer faster. So, yeah, the Tubbs fire, the Tubbs, the Kincaid, the Cascade, the Campfire, the Zog, the Glass, the August Complex, the LNU. The LNU was a summertime fire, but the August Complex burned deep into winter. Those were all autumn and winter fires. So let's see, when was the Oakland fire too? That was a wintertime thing too. The Great Oakland Fire. You would think that would be like turn of the century. It's not. It happened in 1991. So what time of the year was that? That broke out October 19th through 23rd, 1991. And I've talked to some witnesses and some firefighters who were on that fire, and they said that a new structure was on fire. The rate of spread was a new structure was on fire every 30 seconds to 2 minutes. It kind of varied a little bit, but can you imagine trying to fight a fire in a neighborhood where every 45 seconds a new structure is almost completely engulfed? It caused $2.56 billion in damage in today's money. It destroyed just entire neighborhoods. There were 25 deaths, 150 non-fatal injuries. It destroyed 2,843 single-family dwellings and 437 apartments and condominium units. And how long was it? Only from the 19th to the 23rd. So the 19th, 20th, 21, 22, 23, 5 days. It is just 5 days. So we have to remember that now is the get serious time for California fires. It's not over. California's new propaganda posters are, please stop saying fire season in California. It's year round. There are just, which fire season are we in? I would say the only 2 months of the year you don't have to worry too much about fires is like usually March and April, because they're pretty wet. Although every once in a while you have a crazy March windstorm, but they're moist, you know. That's when you get your showers and stuff. Usually summer fire season begins by May, because by Memorial Day weekend you usually have 90-degree temperatures. So that's all you need for fire. So Alan T says there's tons of eucalyptus along Grizzly Peak Boulevard. Oh dear. That's wonderful. I don't know why those haven't been removed from the entire state yet. Yeah, I'm talking about why this I'm feeling extreme pressure to have a completely functional computer. We are in the worst fire season. It's not new. It's not like a new normal. It's absolutely not new. It's always been this way. It's geography causes the Santa Anas and the Diablos. I mean, there's a desert over there in Nevada, and every winter the jet stream changes and pushes occasionally those winds in over the mountains into California. And they try to escape to the ocean in two different spots, which is by Mount Diablo at San Francisco and down by Santa Ana, which is by LA. So those two places, the Bay Area and the LA area, are the two craziest places to have a fire in winter, where when they do break out, every once in a while they do, you have a devastating Holocaust type situation where you can have a huge amount of fatalities, or at least a huge amount of structure loss, depending on how lucky people are. It's not a global warming thing. Even if global warming weren't happening, it would be that bad. It's in the moist and cold, type of winter environment compared to the summer, but that doesn't matter. It matters that the winds are insane and dry, and if you've ever seen a structure fire in winter in high winds, it doesn't matter that it's cold. In fact, cold winds carry more oxygen. You have the craziest blazes like Christmas fires, if you ever study fires in general. So it's bad. And it's the Santa Anas will carry heat too, because they're coming from Nevada. Sometimes they're carrying a cold wind from Nevada, but oftentimes they're carrying a heat, especially if it's daytime. So the fact that the temperature is increasing to the high 80s and the low 90s in Ventura County this weekend is, thank you, Santa Anas. When they're blowing during the daytime, that's what they're bringing. They're bringing the heat of Nevada all the way down to Ventura County. So I hope that explains it in general. I know Desiree, I know. The general consensus of what Desiree is talking about in chat is that PG&E probably started the Kincaid fire. Or no, I think it was the Tubbs fire, actually. I think you might be confusing that one, or I am. But one of the major fires of the Bay Area, the Santa Rosa area, was a power surge blew up in a literal hot tub. I believe the Tubbs fire was started, the ignition point was at the hot tub, and it was because of a power surge in the line or faulty electrical work on the property. I'm not a psychic and I can't tell you what the truth is, but the fact that the power lines ripped through with a surge at that moment and then the hot tub exploded into fire, I would kind of generally say the power company should have turned off the dang power. That I would say that they had a moral obligation to do that, especially knowing PG&E's history of neglect and maintenance. Lack of maintenance. However, the shocking conclusion of investigators at the time was that the family, the property owners, were to blame, instead of the power company. And they fought very hard and very vehemently against that ruling and announced to the public, heck no, it wasn't us. That's what they were explaining. And in general, just word on the street opinion is That's the time PG&E got away with it legally. However, all the other fires that were started by PG&E equipment subsequently, they eventually stopped even fighting it, and they just threw up their hands and said, well, we did. We started this. We started this. We started this. Our equipment did. Probably because they learned that they had a maximum fine of $10,000 if they ever kill somebody with these fires. And it didn't really matter if they took responsibility or not. We'll never know the truth unless, we can time travel and go look at it. But the public opinion is that that the wrong conclusion was reached by officials. So I'm gonna go and look at look at the current image. Look at the current image. Nice and calm. Let's do a 15-minute again. Is that a small helicopter? Is that the drone? What's buzzing around again? We had a nighttime drone as well as nighttime helicopter drops. Hey, it's the helicopters. They're back. So there's the Sikorsky. Hey, the nighttime helicopters are back for more dropping action. They're headed off the coast right now. Isn't that cool? Yeah, Big Dog, no. There isn't any news about how the Caldor started. Yeah. You sent me the article, Desiree? Am I confusing the Tubbs and the Kincaid? Because they were really similar. Yeah. It could be me, because I'm just, I'm on the cold medicine right now. Yeah, let's see here. Looking at the chat, is March and April earthquake season? Yeah, that's kind of that's actually a joke about earthquake season. The worst earthquakes of California history have happened in March and April, and usually at the crack of dawn. It's a weird, kind of uncomfortable coincidence. But the Great Quake of San Francisco was 1906, was at the crack of dawn, April 10th, I want to say. And there's been just many that mirrored that pattern. Now we might laugh at it now, but we actually are learning more and more about the Earth. Geologists are that actually some earthquakes are on a schedule. It seems like that there are some that may be predictable from now on in a somewhat generalized manner. The pressures that are on in between plates, and however that exactly works, seem to build and build and build at a steady rate, release the pressure in a massive quake, and then resets the cycle. The crazy thing I read was that a bunch of, and this is the new theory for many specific points in the world, not all of them, but many specific earthquake hotspots, where just time and time again, like in Antioch and other places where you just have massive quakes that devastate a region. These people were studying that phenomenon in Nepal. And they had just come to the conclusion that Nepal was one of those hotspots that could be almost timed. And they were just ready to announce that. And they went, oh crap, it might even happen this month. And then boom, the big one hit Nepal. That's one of the craziest articles I've ever read in my life. But it was, I believe there is proof that they did start to release some of their findings right before it occurred. The same thing about the Pacific Northwest. The Cascadia subduction zone may be on a timer as well. However, I don't want to get into what I don't have a lot of experience and knowledge about. If you want to know more about those phenomenons, Nick Zenter talks about the Cascadia subduction zone. He's a rock star, like super viral. Oh my God! One of the helicopters just blipped off the radar. Whoop whoop! Pull up. Helicopter, expedite climb. Expedite climb. I imagine air traffic control, if they see them blip off the radar like we did. But when they land and get low to the ground, sometimes they disappear. Their transponder loses connection with at least this program. So we'll probably see one pop up again right here. You know, the news media said that they were dipping out of the ocean. I don't understand that. That's not good to dump salt water on the landscape. That can permanently destroy the fertility of the soil if you do that too much. But maybe in some places it's a little bit more appropriate than others. They generally do not do that. That's like in the frequently asked questions. Do they use the ocean to put? No, they don't. But then the media outlet that I can't remember today said that. That would surprise the heck out of me. If you guys know more about that, then let me know. But the fact that the joke about earthquake season happening, those patterns might be real patterns that might help us understand quakes in the future. I think AI is the only hope we have to notice patterns like that, because there's so many that happen per day. There's always earthquakes happening, hundreds in California per day, that are just not something you can't feel anywhere along plate boundaries. There's hundreds of earthquakes per day. If they were all analyzed by machine learning, there would be new patterns and conclusions drawn that humans would not have noticed. The incredible amount of computation, we'd have to have supercomputers just to handle the data, but we could feed in hundreds of years of earthquake data, say find patterns, and boom, we'd have very surprising results. I do believe that is the very future of pretty much understanding, making new technological breakthroughs in medicine and geology and anything where huge data was impossible to crunch before. You know, there's only so many things humans can do. We'll learn more about the human body, and like half of our health problems will probably be discovered to be bad bacterial infections or imbalances in our gut microbiome. But since there's trillions of bacteria and different types of species and I should say varieties and also fungus and such making a cameo appearance. No human being can find a pattern between like stomach ailments and the different combinations of trillions of bacterial species, but a computer might. You know, you might feed into a computer or AI learning program. You just say find patterns. It'll say stuff like, bing, we figured out that 5 different bacterial infections when in combination cause multiple sclerosis by inhibiting the good bacteria that make neurotransmitters non-functional. And then we'll be like, wow, okay. And it may be that we cure things like MS and other things with getting rid of the infection. I'm making that up as an example, but the concept is remarkably true. We will find the craziest connections that we never assumed before. We'll find out that things like anything from like freckles and moles or something could indicate a susceptibility to something that you wouldn't think, like macular degeneration or blindness or hereditary blindness. Like that is the kind of far-reaching, you would never guess kind of connections that are going to come down the pipe. So going back, okay, please don't mention that person. Looking back at chat. So anytime somebody mentions the other YouTube person there, that check out such and such YouTuber, that's a kind of taboo to do in somebody's stream while it's live, because it takes people's audience here and they get interested and they tumble out of the current stream and they go out and check out the other YouTuber. So that's been a chat rule to not really be mentioning other YouTubers at the time that were live, unless it's fire related. You know, like I don't mind somebody going to check out another YouTube channel or a media that they need to get their fire info. Of course, I'm not going to be offended, and I don't care if viewership goes down for the hour or something. But as far as courtesy goes and politeness, usually you don't go into somebody's stream and say watch somebody else. Like it's whenever that happened in the past, we'd have like 300 viewers and then like 80 of them go off and watch something else. So I'm just talking to you about general guidelines. But Desiree says, I can't wait to the day where we can be scanned for health issues like on Star Trek. I think that's coming. I think that there's a lot coming down the pike that people in the future will take for granted, but we'll be like, oh my gosh, it's possible. We'll have stuff like this, you know. We'll want to do metal recycling because metal will be more expensive as people foolishly throw it away and it gets harder to mine. Right now I have a mystery chunk of metal in my garage, and I don't know what it is. If I were to scan it with a gun, like that would look at it. They make the guns right now, and like scrapyards and smelters, refineries have those. They could be anywhere from like 10 grand to like for the uranium ones that detect radiation. Those can be like $100,000. So that's out of reach for the average person. But can you imagine like finding metal and hitting it with a gun and then going, oh cool, 20% cobalt and 10% something else, and you go to the scrapyard with that knowledge and say, yeah, pay me for what this really is. Oh, this isn't iron at all, it's titanium. Oh, neat, you know. That will become casual. We'll have guns in our kitchen where you have your leftovers and we go zap. You know, kind of like when I say guns, I mean like the guns at the grocery store that scan your UPC codes, your barcodes. Look at all the helicopters go. This is so cool. We can't see any like water dropping, but we see what they're doing. They're running around. Hey, we finally see open flame. Just on the last frame, right there through the gaps in the mountains. So that's where our big flare-up kept going. I want to like replay that. Can you imagine you take your leftovers out of the fridge, and with a small handheld little gun, you zap your leftovers, and it says too toxic to eat. Cytotoxins. That's because of bacteria, and your leftovers was creating too many toxins as its waste. But what people don't want to know about leftovers and things like that is bacteria. Even if you killed them 100%, that's why you can't cook rotten meat and be okay. The toxic waste product of bacteria, you read between the lines, you know what I'm saying, is what poisons you. Even if the bacteria are dead. You imagine safely like scanning your milk and too toxic to eat now. People will just not get that sick anymore. We'll be living in a good new era. Okay, going back to this Minnie says unobtainium cat. The aliens gifted it to you to fight the beavers. Yay, my reptilian sky brethren. And I've been waiting for their delivery. Oh my gosh. Okay, inside jokes. All right, I get. If you ever just tuned in, I get accused of being a lizard person involved in a massive government conspiracy pretty frequently. Hey, Husky, you're back to do some laundry. Good. I'm trying to wrap it up actually. Because there's not much to see. I want to get done with my computer work. Does anybody have a special request? I want to look back and see if we've missed any videos. We did the Caldor update. Kind of explained why it's not 100% yet. They actually do have some red lines still on the Caldor. It looked over by the Capel Lake, Capel area, kind of like the old stubborn spot, but I mean, there's snow on the ground. So if we go to Siskiyou County, Los Padres video, we looked at the KNP update at the very beginning. I was hoping for a windy update. I was hoping for that. National Interagency Fire Center posted a new video about how to search for a job. There's a lot of people very interested now into the much higher wage that the feds will pay wildland firefighters. Hopefully we'll get rid of our personnel shortage. There's KNP this, KNP that. And Wendy is starting to look like the redheaded stepchild that's forgotten. They got a nice big containment number on it, but I'm just wondering where the heck are the Wendy updates anymore? It's all KNP this and that. Current weather situation of 13 hours ago. Let's see, was this long?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Aviva Braun. I'm the incident meteorologist here serving with the Great Basin Team 6 on the Windy Fire. Today we're moving into a warmer and drier pattern as a ridge of high pressure moves inland off the East Pacific coast. Today across the fire we're actually looking for temperatures averaging about 60 degrees across the fire, with areas that are going to have 70 degrees on the east side where they have a little bit of a stronger downsloping wind, and maybe in the low 60s on that west side before we see some warmer temperatures obviously out here at the incident command post in Porterville. For winds today, it's going to be light and variable terrain-driven flow is what we call it. Because we are working in an area with a lot of topographical features, everything's going to be dictated by the slope angle and how the sun hits that slope as it rises in the east and sets in the west. So our strongest winds are going to be on this east side where we have some downsloping winds occurring, and those wind gusts are going to be around 15 to 20 miles per hour as they come down the Kern River Valley and upslope across those higher terrain features on the east side of the fire, but generally light over the course of the day. And we're going to see this continuing as we move deeper into this ridge, as that ridge axis comes onto the coast and actually passes over the fire area on Saturday, which is going to be the warmest and driest day for the fire with this particular ridge of high pressure. So moving over here to that outlook, sunny and dry today, increasingly sunny and dry. That's why we see more and more red coloring moving into the weekend. So we're going to see everything kind of warming up and drying out with under sunny skies each day, and generally light and terrain driven every single day. That's one of the things that we focused on this morning at the operational brief, is that I asked the firefighters to take note of where they were working so that they could figure out what that local terrain-driven wind would be, since it's going to be really variable. We've determined that over the fire, that threshold is around 29 to 30 miles per hour, where it's no longer dictated by the overhead flow. It's more the topographical features that will dictate where that wind is coming from. Moving into the end of the weekend and the beginning of next week, we do have a trough. It's going to be a quick hitter, just move on through, and we'll experience some stronger winds. That's why we have some stronger wind gusts as we move into Sunday and Monday as it moves through, but we're not seeing any indication of precipitation. It's going to be a dry and cool front as it moves through, briefly dropping down the temperatures, but we're going to see temperatures rise again with another ridge moving in right behind it. And that's it for the fire the next couple days. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, yeah, funny comment. Stop autoplay. I don't need. Why does YouTube think or Facebook think I want to watch comedy? What these things that are suggested to me are kind of strange sometimes. So I did look a little bit at that chart. It wasn't looking good. Let's do the watch again. I'm glad she went over to it,
Precipitation's going to be.
Excuse me, and we can read it. So with the windy, we see a lot of red here. That's the humidity drop in general. Red means extreme burning conditions. So you have all of them, and it's kind of like a summary of how bad the day could possibly be for firefighters. In each of the columns for each day, you want to see mostly green stuff, they'll have a better day. But when you have a lot of red factors, you can have tougher days. However, nice thing about this is what you don't want to see in the red is the wind. And only on one day, which is Sunday, do we see red wind, and that's only 25 miles an hour. I'm sorry if you guys can't see this; it's really small print. But this, when at first you see red, you go, "Oh no!" and the humidity is real bad, single digits to 13%, low teens. However, the wind is not bad at all. Just on Sunday, 25 mile an hour wind gusts, and that's it. That's it. We'll take it. We know that the windy doesn't have to be a wind-driven fire. It has been terrain and fuels-driven for the most part. However, now that the temperature, look at the temperature across the board being below 75 degrees for the foreseeable future, that helps quite a bit. So the shorter days are also starting to help firefighting in general, because shorter days, less temperature, and less sunlight in general. So we'll start to eventually see a trend of higher humidity just as it gets into the winter. Just not on the Santa Ana wind weeks, which is why we have the humidity crisis right here. That's because it's always dry in Nevada, and that's where the Santa Anas and Diablo winds come from. So that's a mixed bag, but mostly good. It's just not that big as far as their wind forecast goes. So the windy is looking okay. It's not over by any stretch of the imagination, but look at that lovely huge amount of black line. That's just great. The major population centers are pretty much okay now, unless you've already lost something. We just need to hope that the entire thing goes black before the next major Santa Ana wind event. There's still a danger here, but this is only a moderate one for this week. Hopefully they can just wrap this up before the major one, because everything goes back to the drawing board if there's a major one. It could get really bad wherever the spots are still red, especially. And of course we don't even want to think about new fire starts, but for now it's fingers crossed. It's probably why we're not getting that many video updates, because they have like an 80% something containment now, I believe. Let me look at InfoWeb. But we're wrapping things up. If you guys have a specific question on a specific fire, go ahead and well, 88% containment now on the windy. Absolutely wonderful as of 5 hours ago, and it almost reached 100,000 acres in size. It's paused here at the moment at 97,554 acres, and we have some devastating images, of course. That sequoia, I don't know if it will make it. It could. This specific one could. I don't. The photograph's too small to see it. They can survive some incredible assaults on them, but they're forever weakened. It's not whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Whatever doesn't kill you actually makes you weaker if you're a tree. However, at least you get to live for at least a bit longer. So the basic info on that, estimated containment date is by November 1st. On the windy, that's just fingers crossed that they can have decent enough firefighting weather to meet that goal. So their significant events on the windy is minimal. Backing creeping, smoldering. I love that. That is the slowest type of fire activity and spread that you get in all 4 of these words. Minimal, backing, creeping, smoldering. Smoldering means there's no flame. It's like hot coals. That's what it means for like tree stumps and such, or root systems. Creeping is literally creeping where a grandmother in her walker could outrun the fire, because it's just like burning needles off the ground or bark dust. Moving so slowly, you could probably open a book, sit down and read a chapter before it got towards you if it was like, 30 feet away. That's what creeping is. It really is creeping. Backing is just moving very slowly around, like usually backing down a slope, meaning like going downhill slowly, or just sort of against the wind, but climbing a hill slowly against the wind. That's what that's about. So, great. Everything's looking pretty good. The next 48 hours, they expect minimal to moderate fire behavior with above average temperatures, very low relative humidity, and generally light winds, however. So, next 72 hours, minimal to moderate fire behavior expected with above average normal temperatures, low humidity, and moderately gusty winds. After the next 72 hours, generally light winds, still minimal to moderate fire behavior. So in the foreseeable future, the windy looks okay. Let's just have our fingers crossed. Let's look back now and do our latest time lapse. Here's our current situation. Wow. Looking very minimal. Let's look back at the Alisal. Here's our current image from Inez. Let's make sure we're on the future. Well, our little hotspot just may have burned itself out. Right there. It's kind of petered out. Okay, so looking back at the chat, guys, last call for information, and I need to do a little bit of computer work before sleep. Oh, it's midnight. Dang it. I meant to wrap up about an hour ago. Looking back at the chat, only union members have pointer sticks. J.E. Cat says, wow. Okay, but it's good to see you, Terry Ann. Let's look back at chat. Let's look at anything. Does anybody have a question? Desiree says, my grandmother's father was born in a town that became a part of Poland after the war, and her mother was born in a town that became part of the Ukraine after the war in the Carpathians. Dang. Okay. What is going on in New England? Okay, nobody's asking me about fires, so I think that's because there's nothing that we haven't really touched upon already. Look at, it's kind of hazy. I would say there's very light to not much going on with winds. Either that or we just can't see them because there's no vegetation in the foreground. Here's our blueberry. Let's look at our latest. Yep, it's gone away. No longer visible, that hot spot to the far left. Now, this is interesting. The smoke's pouring over the hill and drifting to the right, but I'm seeing it pouring over the hill and also moving to the right of the screen. So let's look at the camera. So it's looking to the southeast, so anything going to the right is going to the southwest. The right of the camera. So if it's going over the hills to the right of the camera, it's partially drifting over towards the northwest and towards the west. And I mean, it's just light drift. Look at the very right of the screen. See that right there? I think because it's basically on the ridge line, it can kind of be divided by the ridge line, with some of it going over the southern side and the northern side. But that looks so lazy. Look at the slow drift and just kind of moving around. Yeah, I've got a good feeling that they'll probably use tonight. Looks like they have been really making a good use of this awesome favorable weather. This is hitting the jackpot with the weather, at least for tonight, for what we've seen. And nighttime helicopter drops, just perfect. So now the helicopters seem to be focused over here by Gaviota State Park and the beach, and just running around and monitoring things. Once again, we can't hear what they're saying. The ham radio operators just don't have a frequency tuned in that we can hear. Desiree says, just an update. All 3 fires in Sonoma County are fully contained. Excellent. Wasn't one of those the Moscow fire? I saw that was contained. Watch duty indicated that earlier. So I thought so. That's good to hear. So going back up, J.E. Cat said something in another language. What? Something I'm missing about this conversation. What is J.E. Cat supposed to have said? I can speak Joyzy. I know where's the boys eat the worms and boy. Oh, South African slang. Yeah, I see. Or is New Jersey accent? I gotcha. Oh, okay, I thought you were lapsing into South African that Pigden language, which Leonardo DiCaprio attempted and utterly failed at hilariously in Blood Diamonds. That was, if you want to have a party movie and turn that on, that's actually very funny. He does his best, but it's quite oh boy. Okay, now let's wrap this up, I guess, guys. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. I think we're sold. It's time for me to do a little bit of computer maintenance and prep for the upgrades. And thank you all for being here. Thank you so much for the kind donations, both to PayPal and to the Super Chat stickers. Hit the like button to help keep the channel trending so we can reach more people, even for the next fire. The more trending a channel is, the more YouTube will match people with this channel with people desperately searching for live info for the next fire. And if you hit the subscribe button, you will know whenever we go live. The ringing bell will let you know every time that the live broadcast starts. That's usually every 12 hours. If there's a crisis, if that drives you nuts, you don't have to hit the ringing bell, but that does let you know every time. And if you just hit the subscribe button, I'm very grateful. That'll help you find the channel easier again, and it does the trending thing where the YouTube algorithm is triggered to actually show fire info to those that need it. I'm very, very grateful. If you know anybody who might benefit from this channel who is unaware of its existence, please just share the link. Share the link with them on your social media or just text it to them or something, and we'll be happy to help them. We'll try to go back to 24 hours a day during any crisis once my computer upgrade's fixed, and once the living room is completely fixed with all the water damage, and that's getting better. It's getting better. So thank you all for being here, and I'm very, very grateful, mods and people in chat, and everybody who shared the stream. You have my sincere gratitude. I hope everything is going to go well tomorrow. I know I will not be streaming in the morning unless there would be some sort of a mega crisis. I have obligations to help a family member. And then 11-ish is when winds might be picking up anyway. I want to do I'll check in with the weather, but I just don't know what tomorrow will be like with the rest of the cleanup. If friends come over to help me with the living room, I'm just going to take them up on that, and that'll be what happens. But we'll see what goes on. If there is a mega crisis, I'm sure the mods might volunteer to keep it running, even if I have to be moving furniture around and stuff. I'll see what we can do. But if it's mild, if the situation's mild, I'll probably monitor it. I have a Twitter. The link to it's in the description of the video. If for some reason I have a hiccup, I will get on Twitter and say why I can't be live, or try to give you a heads up when I am. That's at KWildfires. That's the Twitter. Thank you everybody for being here. Yeah, and I'm trying to give mods a break too. Some of the mods here have been on duty as community volunteers almost every day for like 45 days in a row. We need to give them a little bit of a break whenever we can in between fires as well, because that's been it's been a brutal every day since July. So thank you all for being here. It's good seeing everybody. Thank you, Sari. Hello, and good night, guys. And then we will try to reconvene tomorrow. If I had to guess, it would be tomorrow evening. That's the best guess I can give you. Yeah, good night, guys. J.E. Cat's favorite quote is, "But the world is going to end at 10, and they will have to, we'll go live at 11. I guess that's an old news media joke. So just remember, guys, don't drive yourselves crazy looking at the cameras all night. When you've done everything you can do, you've done everything you can do. And just relax and go to sleep. And good night, and good luck, everybody. See you soon.